different.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending the council meeting for August 28th, 2023. Will you all please stand for the pledge? Will you please remain standing, please? We had two city employees pass away in the last couple of weeks. First one is Chief Richard Smallman, Jr., 89 years old. He was the West Shore Fire Chief in West Shore Fire Department. He was in the U.S. Navy in 1950 to 1954. He worked his way up in the ranks to become chief in 1977, and he retired in 1981. We also got police officer Ralph Melissa, 80 years old. He retired from the West Haven Police Department for 28 years, dedicated, and he also served in the U.S. Navy and the aircraft carrier USS Franklin D. Roosevelt. Please, a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Take a roll call. Clerk, take roll call.
Councilman Gary Donovan,
Councilman Gary Donovan, Council at Large, present.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor,
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor, Council at Large, here.
Councilman Ronald Quagliani,
Councilman Ron Quagliani, Council at Large, present.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky,
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky, present.
Councilwoman Melly Garthwaite,
Councilwoman Melly Garthwaite, Second District, present.
Councilwoman Sarah Aquarelli is absent, Councilman Mitchell Galignano is absent, Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton is absent, Councilwoman Catherine Tucker,
Councilman Catherine Tucker, 7th District, present.
Councilman Victor Boris,
Councilman Victor Boris, 8th District, present.
Councilman Robert Bruno,
Councilman Robert Bruno, 9th District, present.
Councilman Stephen Johnstone,
Councilman Stephen Johnstone, 10th District, present.
and Chairman Peter Massaro.
And Chairman Peter Massaro, so he's the Councilman President. Thank you.
All right, I gotta prepare the forum, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. Before we start public session, we have a presentation which Councilwoman Bridget Hosky is going to give out to the Z's Corner. And Councilwoman Hosky, it's yours.
Thank you, Chairman. So we have Johnny Z's family here, and if you don't know, this is going to be on his corner. I will show the family. Johnny was a pillar of the community. He did just about anything that anyone asked of him. He was an amazing Westie. I got to know him a little bit when he helped my son's stepmother, Liz, when she was doing Dominate the Day, when they had lost, when she lost her son, Jordan. And through the years, they always went there after they had some type of programming. I unfortunately did not know him, as well as Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor, so she's going to speak. They had been friends for almost 40 years. She doesn't want to date herself, so we can't really narrow that number down, but it's about that, about 40 years. So she's going to just speak a little bit more about Johnny and his impact on the community and why people loved him so much.
Good evening. Johnny and I met when I was 9 and he was 7, so it's just a little more than 40 years, but we're not counting. We grew up together. We grew up 10 and 12 houses down from Zoo Party's Pizza. He was always the little kid in the neighborhood, and we did pick on him, but he was always really good to us. When we were growing up, he attended all the West Haven schools. He went through the West Haven public schools, and he was also the football captain of the West Haven High football team. As he became older, Johnny was very helpful. He had a love of music. And when he opened his bar right here on Campbell Avenue, he would let all new musicians try out and play their bands there. So if you had gotten a band together and you had nowhere else to play a gig, Johnny would let you play. The one thing that struck me the most was when he passed, I had spoken to so many people that had said to me personally, Johnny helped me through so much. Johnny listened. Johnny sat with me at that table over there. Johnny sat with me at that bar stool. Johnny helped me when no one else would. If you asked him to do anything for a fundraiser, he would be there. He would make food, he would sell raffle tickets. I know he helped put together a fundraiser for more than a few people that are sitting here tonight. West Haven was known as the Connecticut's friendliest city. I know Johnny was the epitome of West being the friendliest person in West Haven. He never said no. I contacted people from the Elks, which Johnny was a very proud member of, and they said the same exact thing. Johnny never said no. He always helped out at all of their benefits. He also helped us every year with the fireworks dinner. He would make wings or lemon chicken. His dishes were always a favorite. When he grew up in West Haven, unfortunately, his mom passed when he was in his 20s, and she was a beautiful person. She passed on that trait to him. His wife, Susan, is there. We like to call her Susie, and his two lovely daughters, Samira and Ziena. They are taking right after him. They are also very friendly and willing to help. There's nothing I wouldn't do for my friend of all these years, and I'm really happy that we can put this sign up in his honor. If anyone epitomizes the friendliest city in Connecticut, it was Johnny Z.
I'm going to give this back to the Commissioner of Public Works. It shows you where we're going to have the sign. We will let you know exactly the date and the time. We'll get back and we'll have a ceremony. But I think probably, thank you so much, that we want you and the girls to know that we as a community remember him. That corner will forever be a reminder of who he was and the impact he had on all of us. So we thank you. They are beautiful and such a blessing. Thank you so much. So we'll get back to you.
Thank you so much. One more favor, come up here and get a picture with the
Oh,
sign.
yes. I'm so sorry. If you girls want to come up and take a picture? Mayor Rossi, if you want to come and take a picture? Everybody? You come. You come.
We should stand, and they should take a picture in front of the council.
That's fine.
We should probably stand.
Let's stand up.
Just stand up.
Susie.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hosky and Councilwoman O'Connor. Well deserved. Okay, now we'll have public session, and we all know it's going to be a 5-minute talk. Would anybody like to come up and address the council? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Gay Heyer. I'm at 685 Forest Road, and I'm here representing the homeowners on the east side of Forest Road from 685 down to the corner with Route 34. I also want to say thank you up front to Councilman Mazzaro because he's aware of this issue and he has attempted to help us. But I have to say that the problem has gotten worse. Just to give you, I made some copies. This is a log of the number of times that the car alarm system has gone off at the George Hart used car lot on 34. It faces the backs of our homes. It is incessant. It can go off dozens of times in an afternoon or overnight or on a weekend. I only made 3 copies. That's from April until last night. It is by no means all of it. That is at least what we were able to document. There's more. Of the people who live on Forest there in the area that I said, amongst us, we are mostly over 65. 5 of us are cancer, either current patients or survivors. We have 2 disabled people. We can't sleep. We can't rest. We are not being permitted to enjoy the peaceful enjoyment of our homes and property. Our pets, some of them are so distraught and upset that one of them has run away and we can't find the poor cat. When the alarm goes off, there are, as near as I can tell, 4 distinct voices, 2 male, 2 female. It says that the property is closed, that the police will be called if you don't leave immediately, and I have been able to determine that it is neither connected to an alarm monitoring system nor to the police department. So they're saying this, and it doesn't mean anything. It is nothing but security theater. It does no good. All it is doing is disturbing us. It's too sensitive. It's clearly set off by motion. It must be birds, squirrels, raccoons, possums, something like that. The speakers are on a pole next to the building that it houses the office, and it is not pitched down, the level of it doesn't go down to where the cars are. It's straight out, so it's coming straight at the backs of our homes. We would like to ask them, please, to either tilt the thing down or ideally to take it down and move it to a pole at the back of their property facing out so that we are not hearing it constantly. We understand that they have a right to protect their property, but again, this is absolutely everybody is distraught and sleepless, and it's not fair. The stress is just dreadful. The problem also that is, as far as I can determine, is that the people who are there, who work there, they turn it on, they leave. They don't know that it's going off all these times. It's not going to the police. And the owners aren't there. The owners live elsewhere. It's just the manager, and they don't really care, apparently. So what I would like to please ask the council to consider is to send an official communication from the city of West Haven to the owners, to the Hart brothers, to tell them what's going on and ask them to please adjust the system or to cease and desist. Because it's just abominable. And right now, there's leaves on the trees, so it's providing some muffling. Once there's no leaves on the trees, it's going to be completely intolerable. And we can't have fresh air in our houses. We can't sleep with the window open. It's just not acceptable. So I just want to thank you so much for taking this seriously, and I again thank Councilman Mazzaro for his attempts thus far, and we really do need to pursue this because it's not fair. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
I made one more phone call to the PD.
Mhm.
I spoke to a police officer, the amount he's going to take it down personally. I called him last week. Matter of fact, your husband called me, left me a message. I sent the PD there again, and he was going to survey the whole situation. He's going to get back to me on it. So
Thank you.
supposedly, he looked at it last week, and he's gonna get back to me. If not tomorrow, I will give him a call and find out what he come up with.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it, and so do all of my neighbors. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else like to come up and address the council? Would anybody else would like to come up and address the council? Yes, sir.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Mark Glassman. I'm a commercial realtor. I've been a realtor for 37 years, practicing commercial real estate for the last 34 years. I work for Arnold Peck. I'm his Director of Commercial Real Estate Services. And I want to talk about the leasing of the Savin Rock Community Center. I haven't seen any real data that provides me information on the lease, but from what I understand, the brewery wants to pay $4,000 a month. And they want to do, I don't know, a 50 or 60-year lease. So in my experience, which is a long time and a lot of leases, I do approximately 15 to 20 leases a year, commercial leases. And I have a lot of experience. I've done all kinds of different kinds of leases, industrial, retail, ground leases, land leases, all different varieties. So when I look at the Savin Rock Conference Center and I see its location, oceanfront, beachfront, however you want to describe it, that a monthly rental rate of $4,000 a month is crazy. That's so ridiculous. I know the building needs work, but we don't have a definitive figure. We say, you know, I've heard things said that the building needs $3 to $4 million worth of renovations. I don't know that it's going to take $3 to $4 million to deliver the property to the brewery, but I think a lot of the money that they're going to spend is going to be tenant-specific. And I think that if you're going to rent it to someone, you hand them a vanilla, what we call a vanilla box, which is heat, air conditioning, bathrooms, lighting. And they take care of all the build-out, which is specific to their needs. So I know that this is only 3 minutes and I'd never be able to explain the whole thing, but I tell you that I did 2 ground leases for Dunkin' Donuts. One of them's 2 blocks away. I did that lease in 2015, and I could tell you I have the rent roll right here, that for a 1/4 acre of land, a lease is $2,100 a month triple net. And what the triple net means is they pay for all building expenses, interior, exterior maintenance, taxes, insurance, and anything that happens to the building. They take care of the land surrounding it, the 1/4 acre. They snowplow it, they maintain the asphalt. They do all those things. In close, I think that the city of West Haven leases this property for $4,000 a month for 50 or 60 years with no increases. We're selling the people of this town short. You know, I think that what we really need to do is put it out and market it and get an RFP out there so that other people could see that they could have the same opportunity, because I think for $4,000 a month, I mean, people rent houses for $4,000 a month, not 11,000 square foot buildings on the water. So I think that everybody needs to think hard about this, because it's 60 years, which I think typically when we do a deal like this, we would only do for maybe 20 years and then add options. But there's always going to be increases, because we don't know what the future's going to bring. And the economy is always going to go up. Even if there's downtime, the economy is going to go up. It's proven. I lived through 4 different cycles, and every time the cycle gets bigger. So the numbers get bigger. $4,000 is ridiculous. Thank you.
Sir, can we have your address, please?
4 Mountain View Road, West Haven.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council? Yes, Eleanor.
Eleanor Slamba, 18 4th Avenue. Good evening, council. I really had no intention of coming up and speaking, but I was curious about the same thing today, and I just ran a quick Google search, found the board packet easily on the council website under the preparatory materials for tonight, read the lease that was in one of the packets. It is triple net, what the draft is before you tonight. It does have built-in increases that go up after 10 years. What else did we hear? I would just, well, I won't talk to anyone but you all here, and just to tell you that I looked for it, I was curious about the same thing, and was able to easily find it, and to find the terms that are not what we just heard about. So, thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council? Would anybody else like? Yes, Frank.
Frederick Brown, 100 Smith Street. I'd like to support and endorse 3 of the candidates that Mayor Rossi has put forward for appointment tonight. I'd like to support and endorse Iris Diaz. She has served on my fire commissioner for 11 years. She's done a very nice job. She currently serves as chairperson. I think we've made quite a bit of progress with her leadership, and I'm delighted to see that she wants to continue on our commission. I'd like to endorse Ursula Riley for the Inland Wetlands Agency. We all know the commitment her family has made to our city, and I'm delighted to see that she's willing to continue that commitment. I think you've made an excellent choice, and I'd just like to say I look forward to working with Desmond St. Rose on the Economic Development Commission, and I hope that I look forward to meeting him in a couple of weeks, and I hope the council will support these candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would else like to come up and address the council? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Lori Simone, Richards Place, 107. I just have a question. Last month when we were here, I had asked about the pension, and you guys had a meeting about it, and I was just wondering, I didn't hear whether or not it went through, and that's kind of what I'm asking, the police pension. Yes?
To our end, but we gotta wait for the review board. They gotta go over it too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council? For the second time, would anybody else like to come up and address the council? Third and final time, anybody else? Yes, Van.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sylvana Pasella, 281 Highland Avenue. I wanted to talk about the condition of our tennis courts at Painter Park. I don't know if any of you guys have been up there lately, but they are really, really, really bad. There's cracks all along. There's holes in the nets. There's holes in the fencing. It's a safety issue, and I know that there's an active tennis program going on right now, and it's actually doing really, really well. So I'm really happy to hear that. I played recreationally growing up. I have a lot of good memories playing at Painter Park. I would play until it was dark, and then I would go to Milford because they had lights. So it would be nice that if we could possibly get some ARPA funding to do the courts. I sent an email to Mark Payne, and he said he also requested ARPA funds and was denied. So I am requesting you guys to ask ARPA to give the funding for the tennis courts. There is also a program through the U.S. Tennis Association, And depending on the amount of courts, there's several different categories where there is a USTA contribution amount of up to 50% for the project, depending on the amount of courts that you have. So if there's like 2 to 3 courts, you can get $5,000 to $12,500. It's a good deal. I'm not saying for the city to just come out and, I know it's very, very expensive, but if the money's there and if you guys all go and take a look, because it is a safety issue, it is. That's really all. And I sent the information to Mark with the link for USTA, for the assistance on it. And Melly, I sent you pictures, right? Yeah, so Melly's seen pictures of it from when I went over there, so you guys should take a look. And if you guys could do that, I know the community would appreciate it. That's it. Thank you.
Hey. Anyone else like to come up and address it?
Could you share that information with our grants writer, Savannah? That would be fantastic. Thank you, Chairman.
Anybody else like to come up and address the council? Anybody else like to come up and address the council? Oh, welcome back. Haven't seen you in a while.
Oh. I was trying to be quiet.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Just Paul Fraslo, 19 Bloom Street. I have to agree. I was driving home, and I heard Mark on YouTube. He's 100% right. I get over $6,000 a month for a lease at the Tiny American Club, 85 Chase Lane upstairs. That's not even close to the water. What you guys are going to sign tonight is ridiculous. Anybody with a brain will not sign that contract. I get over $6,000 for 5,000 square feet at the IA Club. And this is going on, and it's going up to 8,000. Actually, it went up to 8,000 on July 1st. So $4,000 is a grand slam for somebody. I'll sign a contract today, and I'm sure Mark and a couple other people will do the same thing. We'll propose $10,000 a month. I agree, put it back out there. $4,000. Ronnie, you can't even rent your house out for $4,000. It's not feasible. Do the right thing. Some of you are not even gonna be running again in a couple of months. If anything, let the next council, don't let this be the legacy of Nancy Rossi's city council, okay? Look for the future of us and the residents of West Haven and generations to come. A 60-year deal is ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. You go look any real estate ads for rentals of houses in West Haven, they're phenomenal. People are getting big money. UNH is getting big money for some of their rentals. So I'm against signing it, and if we got to do a referendum or something against it, if you guys approve it, we will do it. Thank you.
Hey. Anyone else like to come up and address the council? Yes, Mark.
Okay. Margaret A. Krasinski, 1 Robart Street in the Allentown section of West Haven. What?
The microphone.
Thanks, Steve. I can't hear anything back there anyhow. We have nothing here that makes the system go back there. I agree with Paul Fraslon. This is a big mistake to do it because most of you are not coming back. I don't know why you're going to do that. To put it on your resume? Don't do it. That's not enough money to put it there. I don't know why you want to do it. You're not coming back as mayor, okay? That's a beautiful piece of land, and for that little bit amount of money, no. So many things have been happening in this community, it's a farce. Okay? I see the reappointments of a lot of these people. Are they qualified for those positions that you're putting them on a commission? There's no resume here for these people. There's no resume. So many things have been happening the last 4 years. To the city of West Haven, it's been a big disappointment to the people that have lived here for a number of years. Promises have been broken. Nobody cares. We went through a pandemic. A pandemic. Saw the meetings on a computer. Never got to see the people, the meetings in, like now, right here. You don't have a legacy. It never happened. Money was stolen that came from the federal government for the people of West Haven. How are we going to make up for that money? Do we have to pay it back to the federal government? It's a shame what happened here in West Haven. Nobody cares about it. I care. I wish it was spread around a little bit more. A lot of rotten things are happening in this city. Another shooting in North Carolina. You can't even now step out of your house because you don't know what's going to happen on the road, or if you're walking, or if you're taking a bus. It's terrible. That beach is one of the beautiful things that we have in West Haven, and no, we're not going to give it away. They have to pay a lot more money to put whatever they want there. You don't have a legacy, Mrs. Rossi. It was taken away from us. I had so much confidence in you when you started out. I really did. But no, the last year or two, or even 4 years ago, I don't know what happened to it. I'm sad to say, everybody here is not running. Most of you are not running. Just a few of you are running. I can't see in the future because I don't know what's going to happen. I have to worry about day by day because things are changing terrible in this world. I worry about the kids. My kids are grown up. My grandchildren are grown up. So many things are happening, it's terrible. And it's getting worse. Thank you for your service, those have served. Good luck for you guys.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else like to come up and address the council? Would anybody else like to come up and address the council? Third and final time, would anybody else like to get addressed? You already up once, man. Anybody else? All right, ma'am, I could take you now.
I'm sorry, I probably should have brought this up to Public Works, but I noticed when we were playing bocce the other night, there's a giant hole in front of the bocce shed. Giant hole, which I'm gonna say you could lose several people in. They filled it once, and the following week, so they filled it and we noticed it was full. It's where they play cornhole. And I went last week and checked on it again, and it's a hole. It's like there's a sewer line or something down there, and when it rains or whatever happens, the sand's it's just gone. Literally, you could put several people in it. So it's just a hazard, and if we don't put up some caution tape or something, I'm just worried about somebody getting sued.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else like to come up and address the council? Anybody else like to come up and address the council? Third and final time. Anybody else like to come up and address the council? Public session is now closed at
7:34.
7:34. Okay, we're going to approve the minutes. I approve the minutes for the meeting for July 24th, 2023. Any questions? All in favor? Any abstentions? One abstention. Two abstentions.
Melanie Victor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion passes majority. Approve the minutes for August 15th, 2023. Any discussion? All in favor? Abstentions? Motion
Just
passes.
Boris?
Yep. All right, clerk will now read the communications.
Okay, we have before us Communication A from the tax collector regarding overpayment refunds for August 2023, which will be filed with tonight's minutes. We have Communication B from Mayor Nancy R. Rossi regarding a tentative lease between the City of West Haven and Nebco Brewery, 6 Rock Street, West Haven, Connecticut, for discussion and action to schedule a public hearing. Being assigned to the Public Lands Committee, Chairman Donovan. We have Communication C from Olivia Basanti, Assistant Grants Writer, and Joe Soto, Emergency Management Director, regarding the third funding request on the opioid program, being assigned to the Finance Committee, Chairwoman Hosky. We have before us Communication D from Tom McCarthy, Commissioner of Public Works, regarding the proposed change to the city collection ordinance. That would be to schedule a public hearing. Being assigned to the Legislative Matters Committee, Chairman Bruno. We have before us Communication E from Mayor Nancy R. Rossi regarding the appointment of Desmond St. Rose of 18 Tampa Street, West Haven, to the Economic Development Commission Panel of Alternates. Mr. St. Rose's appointment would become effective immediately and expire on January 31st, 2025, being assigned to the Personnel and Civil Service Committee, Chairman Quagliani. We have before us Communication F from Mayor Nancy R. Rossi regarding the appointment of Ursula C. Riley, 10 Hilltop Lane, West Haven, to the Inland Wetlands Agency Panel of Alternates. Ms. Riley's appointment would become effective immediately and expire on 7/31/2024. Being assigned to the Personnel and Civil Service Committee, Chairman Quagliani. We have before us Communication G from Mayor Nancy R. Rossi regarding the appointment of Jason Card, 57 Orange Street, West Haven, to the Energy Commission. Mr. Card's appointment would become effective immediately and expire on February 25th, 2024. Being assigned to the Personnel and Civil Service Committee, Chairman Quagliani. We have before us Communication H from Mayor Nancy R. Rossi regarding the reappointment of Iris Diaz, 141 Todd Hill Street, West Haven, to the West Haven Allentown Fire Commission. Ms. Diaz's reappointment would become effective immediately and expire on 6/30/2028, being assigned to the Personnel and Civil Service Committee, Chairman Quagliani. And we have before us Communication I from Mike Aiello, the Deputy Corporation Counsel, regarding the potential sale, lease, or transfer of 209 Malcolm Road, West Haven, being assigned to the Public Lands Committee, Chairman Donovan. And lastly, we have before us Communication J from Chief Joseph Perno, West Haven Police Department, regarding animal shelter donations, being assigned to the Finance Committee, Chairwoman Hosky. And that concludes our communications for this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Stacy. Now we'll have the committee meetings. Council as a whole, as the ARPA updates, there is none this, at this meeting. He will be at the next meeting.
Do it under new business. I can ask?
Yes.
So can we ask Mark Payne what he was denied for from ARPA? Because it was my understanding that they had taken an inventory of all city parks. So if, I'm wondering if the tennis courts are on there, and what did Mark ask for that he was denied, and who did he ask?
You wanna send a
Because
letter?
Would you like me to send a letter?
I would greatly appreciate that.
Okay, will
And
do.
maybe even CC Kent Carney, and, because that there's a huge, that they have an inventory of parks, and we should double check to make sure that's on there.
Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Chairman.
Welcome. Okay, now you can take the Finance Committee. It's yours.
Okay.
And that
So
is
that's,
over at 7:39.
The time is now 7:39, and your, Finance Committee is in session. The members present are, Councilwoman O'Connor, Councilman Quagliani, and myself acting as chair. We have before us, oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Taylor, would you, would you like to come up and give us update on finance?
So I really don't have an update on the year-to-date finances. As you know, we are short-staffed, and yet we have been very fortunate to hire a budget coordinator most recently. She started, she's working. Unfortunately, the backfill I got for her, because she was a temp for us in the ARPA area, came for 2 days and got a permanent job. So back to square one on that one, but he was a very high-quality person, just like Barbara, and we saw that in her and hired her pretty quickly, too. So can't blame him for that. But so far as our priorities are getting the audits done. And while we are posting the entries daily and making sure that we pay the bills, et cetera, we just have not been able to get to reporting over the last several months. And I apologize for that. I'm not feeling good about it. However, getting these audits done, being able to finance the city for its needs are having to take first place.
Completely understand.
Mhm.
Does anyone have any questions outside of anything for the budget from Mr. Taylor? I just want to quickly ask about the MARB meeting, if you can tell us when the next meeting is, and if the West Haven PD pension is on its agenda.
The next meeting will be a special meeting. It's on the 31st, which is a couple days from now. While the labor contract for the sewer employees is on that agenda, the pension was not ready for that agenda, but it will be on the agenda for the 14th, which is just 2 weeks later.
So are they unable to do what we do, where you take a vote to add something to the agenda? Or is that just not something they are
So
receptive to?
the 31st is a special meeting.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Taylor? You said that, but it didn't really
Yeah, yeah.
register. Going once? Thank you. You're appreciated. I have communication C from Olivia Basanti, the Assistant Grants Writer, and Joe Soto, Emergency Management Director, regarding the third funding request of the opioid program. I'd like to bring this out favorably for discussion.
So moved.
Thank you. Olivia, would you like to come up and talk with us? It's so great having you here and meeting with Savannah, getting that information. Would you like to talk to us about your request?
Sure. So I received a proposal from Joe Soto, the Emergency Management Director, to use funds from our opioid settlement account. And this would go towards a one-year-long position as a public health educator. It would be part-time, and the total appropriation is $40,000. It would leave us about $10,000 left for now, but we're receiving funds from 2 different national opioid settlement judgments, so they're kind of coming in sporadically. So I can tell you we will receive more funds in the future. I can't exactly tell you when or how much, but we are expecting more after this. So this position, like I said, it would be part-time, and the main purpose of it would just be to do community-wide assessments and connect individuals to resources that they might need, teach about harm reduction, generally anything related to opioid addiction in West Haven.
Okay, so is what's on this page, page 2, is this essentially the job description?
Yes, I don't know exactly what's in front of you, but I have the needs assessment, resource development, community outreach and education, evaluation and monitoring.
Okay. I'm gonna be just candid, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, whatever is, do we have somebody in mind? Are we posting this? Is this I mean, we're notorious for hiring contractors, and I'm not sure what, I'll take that back. So is this gonna be a contractor? Like what, I'm just thinking $40,000, 19 hours a week.
So
Who are we hiring?
So we could, Joe Soto expressed that it could be a stipend to an existing employee that is within the health department, or it could just be a part-time hire for the city of West Haven.
Yeah, so, can I continue, or does somebody else have something? Because I have.
You can finish.
Oh, thanks. So I guess, I'm just trying to think, so it's part-time, 19 hours. So do we have part-time people in the health department?
I'm not exactly sure.
Like, we
at
do
this-
have, and and I'm just asking because I'd like to have, I'd like to have transparency. And I'm just gonna ask Mr. Taylor.
Sure.
So the how many people are part-time in the health? Well,
Oh, you're digging deep now.
Well, I mean-
But there are a few different jobs that are part-time in there.
So-
Different nursing and mosquito control, vaccines, et cetera. They use some part-time.
So, I love everything about the need for this position. I don't like not having, what are the qualifications for the person who's gonna be doing this job? Do you need a master's degree?
Okay.
And then, go ahead.
Oh,
Did you-
no.
Oh, no. So do you need a master's degree, or if we're saying that we can hire somebody in the department that's already part-time, they're full-time, and then do we have to give them benefits? Because then that's more than 40,000. Then we'd have to take the other 10 grand, I would think, to then pay for the medical. I'm just not sure. But I'll sit on it and wait for my colleagues. Ms. Gaglia, Councilwoman O'Connor?
I have, I'm just curious, as I was listening, this opiate crisis is something new. We would need someone qualified that's already dealt with this. Can we partner with one of the agencies that already help West Haven with drug abuse? I don't know if I could name one, but I know like Bridges does help with drug
Yep.
abuse, and they must have qualified people there, and there's other places that help. Is that something that we can reach out to them for qualified help to fill this position?
Yeah, I could bring this back to Joe, and we could work something out that is a better fit. It's totally an option. It's an allowable expense to work with nonprofits with the settlement funds, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Are you sure? Because I'm just saying, I think it's not as easy as to make a part-time person full-time, or giving them, because there's so much more that goes into that. There's that added benefit, and how is that going? I don't know, Mr. Taylor, am I correct? I mean, if they would get benefits, and with the 10 grand that's really there, that would, how much isn't benefits, 24 grand? About 30?
Like I said, roughly.
Oh, so I was close, okay. So that's where I'm just kind of, I want a position, I think it's a great idea. I just don't know if approving 40 grand and then trying to figure out what we're gonna do is my thought. Councilman Quagliani?
Yeah, no, I just kind of reiterate the same thing. I think it's gonna be difficult to find a person off the street to come here for $40,000 and do this position part-time for 19 hours a week. I have my concerns about adding a stipend to an existing position for all the reasons that were already described, and our best opportunity may be looking to partner with an agency that already has expertise in the area. So I concur with the both of you.
Anyone else, Councilwoman? Did you wanna, okay. I felt the eyes.
No, I just was curious because I think this is wonderful. I think this is great work. And, happy that they're thinking of this issue because it's a really important issue. But I guess I just question whether or not we know whether or not somebody in the health department has the skill set that would be needed to carry out such a job. Do we know that? Mr. Taylor, because you're talking about part-time.
So,
Sorry. I had to get Olivia off the hot seat for a second.
I'm not aware of anyone that's there, but I think I'm hearing that it's something worth doing. And, you know, Joe and Olivia have come up with $40,000 because we want to do this. And maybe it's not a person we hire, maybe it's a firm, maybe it's a healthcare, like you were saying. I don't know. She's thought about it a lot more than I have. But anyway, just throwing that out there. I'm not aware of anyone in the health department
Okay,
that
could you-
necessarily has these skills.
Okay.
it was just kind of an idea Joe had. So he was thinking we could just bring someone in as part-time or look at somebody in the health department, granted they had some skills or experience with substance abuse in the community. It's just one route, but I do agree that reaching out to local nonprofits is another great idea, so I'd be happy to workshop with that with him and then bring it back.
Has Joe worked with Maureen at all on this, do you know?
Yes, I believe he did when he was writing the proposal for me.
Okay,
I don't know the details on that, but yeah.
okay, thank you. No, but I do agree that this would be better with some place like Bridges or somebody that has experience in this area. I mean, nurses are great, but that doesn't mean they're experts in everything. And so I think it's best to put this where the public can be really served by people with the right expertise to do this work.
Right, and I was thinking the same thing, you know, is it a master's degree and such and such, a bachelor's degree, like what? And I think that's what this job description is missing. I think it's too broad, you know, or are we gonna train somebody and who's gonna do that? And anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, go ahead.
I'm curious, is this a position that will be more permanent? Is it just going to be temporary for?
For now, yes.
Sure,
Yeah,
okay.
because the funding is somewhat sporadic, he created the position to be just 1 year. So we would reevaluate.
So a
There
year's
is
time.
external grants as well, and we're anticipating the state to get some funding that communities can apply for through the same settlement.
Okay, so just a year, you go year
Yeah.
by year by year. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Anyone else? So I think at this time, I'm gonna ask them, the Councilman Quagliani and Councilwoman O'Connor to, take back their, motion so that, and then we'll hold this and maybe you can go back to,
Yeah.
Joe and have a discussion. And again, I think this is important. I wanna see it. I just don't know if, similar to what Mr. Taylor was saying, you know, they hired somebody, a contractor to come in, they were here 2 days and left because they got a permanent job. This is only a year, so how will we find a qualified person? And I don't know enough about it to know what the qualified means.
Okay.
Or what it should be, I don't know. I'll leave it up to the experts, so.
Yeah, I'll take it back.
Yep, all right, thank you so much, I appreciate you coming in here tonight. So we're gonna hold that, thank you so much. I need my paper. And now we have before us communication J from Chief Joseph Perno, the West Haven Police Department regarding animal shelter donations. I'd like to bring this out favorably.
Second.
And any discussion? All those in favor? And the motion carries, and your finance committee is closed at 7:53.
Thank you, Councilwoman Howard. Now we'll take it to legislative matters. Councilman Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Make a motion to bring this out for discussion, please.
So moved.
So I'll go first. Who's gonna, Olivia, are you gonna answer the questions, or Mr. McCarthy? Somebody from Deep?
Yep, down here. Deep's here.
Yep. Would you like to come up so we can ask you a few questions, please? I'm gonna open it up to the council as a whole for some questions, and I'm gonna go first. One of my questions regarding Helm Street. Is Helm Street ready to go for a transfer site, a transfer station?
No.
The application is being prepared.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. And then, another question I had, and I'm sorry, I probably brought them up first, but, so, the leaf bags, so if we have, let's say, an elderly resident that needs, they can't get the leaf bags to the transfer station, how will that be adjusted to get picked up?
So, Mr. Chair, all of that is open to negotiations.
Okay.
Because we fully expect that there will be some people who can't afford the 35-cent garbage bags, and we believe we'll have to have an answer for that as well. But the leaf, bulk won't end until we have a transfer station ready to go, and even then, our residents would be allowed to bring a certain amount for free. So we're not taking it away.
Okay. And it expired back in August 7th, if I'm correct on that, right? And now we have, DEEP has approved an additional funding to get us through? Is that what?
Yes, a bridge.
A bridge, right? And then when it says with an additional large sum of money pending, $799,400, what is that pending on, Mr. McCarthy?
That's pending on whether we pass an ordinance.
To move forward?
To move forward.
Okay. I have nothing else right now. Anybody have any questions for Deep or Mr. McCarthy? Councilman O'Connor?
October 2nd is only like 6 weeks away. So are you saying if we move forward this, everyone has to comply by October 2nd?
No, that would literally be the beginning of the process.
The beginning of the process. So how long does this process normally take? Are we again still like an experiment?
The reason that we're kind of in an experiment still is that right now, believe it or not, we are leading the nation in this program. So we would be first to do something really good. So if that was, there will be the teething pains of being the first to do something. I think Worcester probably is the only.
I mean, there are programs across the country that do parts of this, but this pilot has put two things together. And it's actually been really successful in a town that, in the beginning, if you all remember, I came up here, people were nervous about it, but I was gonna do a little quick slideshow, but your stuff doesn't work, so I'll pass it out to you. But the results are really good, both from the analytics of what we've seen, but also the response and the feedback that we've had from residents, and we've been out in the streets. You guys all probably got a postcard in the mail. We've had respondents through that. We have a mobile app. We have over 1,000 people that downloaded it. They've given us feedback. We've had multiple feedback sessions. We have a feedback session tomorrow at noon. We have 6 or 7 more planned. They were gonna be up on the slide, but we'll get those out to you over the next couple of weeks. So it's been really, really successful. And as Tom said, you really are one of the first in the country to be doing it. So the process would be a build-up, but the first step was the ordinance. I mean, that is the first step.
And just one more question, and this is for transparency. So is there going to be like a final date? Obviously, you want 100% participation. Does that mean the people that don't participate by a certain day, their garbage will not be picked up?
So, Councilwoman, theoretically, you could get to a point where somebody, much like, I'll give you a different example, the sewer system. There is a provision within the sewer system that says if somebody is putting something into our system that can harm the overall system and everyone else's ability to use it, we have the ability to remove them from the system. We've never done that. It's on the books. Right now, we have no provisions whatsoever. If somebody puts their trash out, doesn't want to put it in a trash can, we don't have anything that says you have to. Whether we deal with this ordinance, we have some conflicts within our own system that we have to fix. For example, we pick up garbage from 3 families and under. We pick up recycling from 4 families and under. We're in conflict with ourselves. That's just within our own rules. we have outdated rules going back to when we, think about, we probably were ahead of the game before we were behind the game. We used to put our food into bins, and Latella Farm would come pick it up. We're literally trying to figure out how to get our food back out of the system again. So we have a provision in here to remove condo owners who don't live in their unit. Again, that's a rental. We're having to pick it up under the current guidelines. So we're trying to codify, bringing us up into, we used to have our own dump. We don't have that. There's no more dumps in Connecticut. We're starting to now deal with our new reality. The tipping fees are going to go up whether you pass this or not. And the hardest thing right now is to show you have to believe that the costs are going up. We don't want to wait for them to go up and then say we were right. So a lot of the things we're doing right now are to mitigate things you may never see. If we do this right, then we've cut our own costs and we've eliminated some of that increase.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman Massaro.
Still, I got a problem with the elderly people. If they can't go out and get these bags, how are they gonna get them? A lot of elderly people don't have the money to spend extra to buy these bags. What are we gonna do with them? We're gonna fine them $100? How are we gonna handle that? Listen, I understand the program is going good. I see in my area, a lot of people are using the orange bags now and everything and splitting the trash and stuff. My question, of course, part of it is Councilman Donovan's question. Why do we have to have orange bags? Why can't we use just bags?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And one of the things I was going to show you, which I can't show you, is that the way that this is collected, it's called co-collection. And what makes you unique in the United States is you're one of the only ones, a couple others in Connecticut, that are doing this in the country. They do it in Europe, in Scandinavia, and they do it in Scandinavia because it's colder climate, which you guys have here. Not quite as cold, but still cold. In the idea of pulling your food scraps out of the waste stream is something that they do in Europe, all over Scandinavia, France, Germany, other places, and they also do it in California here. And the way that they do it is called co-collection, so that you don't have to have a separate vehicle on the road to stop at everyone's house to pick up the food. The co-collection, though, because you put it in a truck, you want the trucks to be efficient, you want them to compact as much as possible. The bags go through a lot of abuse. So the bags are 1.7 mils thick, 1.75, and that way they don't break after they've been crushed in the compactor in the truck, dumped on the floor, and then loaded onto the conveyor belt. They still are able to stay intact. When you just use regular black and white bags, they don't stay intact. Your alternative is picking up with a separate collection, which is significantly expensive. It's probably around $100 a household per year. So it's a lot of extra funding that would be funded through taxes. No city so far in the U.S. has been able to take on that expense because it's a lot of money. In California, they do also co-collection, but they put it with their yard waste because the yard waste is collected year-round because they have a year-round growing season. Here, you can't really mix food and yard because you don't have that year-round growing season. So the way to get the food out is to co-collect it, which means that you now have 2 different color trash bags in that same container. The other, advantage of the orange bag and what we've seen through this process is people that are using the orange bags are reducing their trash in other ways. So one of the other slides I was going to show you is your overall diversion is up 35%. So you were hovering around a little under 14% recycling rate, and today your recycling plus your food scraps, you're up a little bit over 20% recycling. So you've increased your diversion. Those numbers are absolutely unheard of across the U.S. You can look at any, you can just Google it. To get any kind of recycling increase, it's really, really difficult. It's lots of education, and you might see 1 or 2 percentage point changes. And so this is really a phenomenal change. And I think the timing of this all is because DEP does have the funds right now, and we know that that changes year over year because they go someplace else. And you already have a lot of momentum. We've spoken to, and I'll pass it around, but Pam Roach in the back there from the Scrog region, the Southeast Council of Governments, South Central Council of Governments. She's been working on answering phone calls for residents. She's spoken to over 1,400 residents in West Haven over the past several months. We also have a mobile app that we have over 1,000 users on. We've done surveys. So we've had a lot of feedback from residents that are both doing it and not doing it. Some residents say, I'm not doing it because I didn't understand what to do in my kitchen, or I didn't know how to do this. But we've also had feedback that says that they'd still be willing to try. So I feel like the momentum and the timing is good right now. When you lose that momentum, it's really hard to get it back.
And Pete, Mr. Chairman, to answer the question you asked before, somebody's buying garbage bags at that house now, the black ones. The price for these are the same. The city's not making any money off this program. We priced the bags exactly at what the cost was. So whether you're buying $1.50 worth of 5 bags from the city or buying them from Stop and Shop, now, what we could and should think about doing is, say, people that are on, the taxes are frozen, maybe the city council might want to say that if your taxes are frozen, that you qualify for X amount. I mean, there are ways for us to do this. It's a very progressive, you know, if you have a large household and you're producing an inordinate amount of trash, you're paying a little bit more than somebody who's living at home and as Deep said, reducing their trash. So.
Yeah, and I think one other quick statistic is the average home in the U.S. spends about $35 a year on trash bags. I think it's $35.30. With this program, we think it's going to be about $28.20. So believe it or not, we think that most people will change their behavior. They'll think twice about what they're putting in the system. That's why we saw that increase, and we only have a portion of the population doing it. So we think that increase in diversion will go up significantly. So there'll be less need for the same number of trash bags at home. So we believe that in the end, it will come out slightly less than what they even pay today, and that would be on average. As Tom mentioned, there are ways to subsidize if anyone is having, a problem with being able to pay for the bags. And we did put some additional free bags into the grant so that they'd be available for the city at their discretion. In fact, Olivia's already talked about a way to qualify residents to allot them for a certain number of free bags if necessary.
So my last question is this, then don't you think we should put it in writing in the new ordinance that people that have maybe tax freezes or a certain amount of income, that they can get the bags for?
That's
Because if you
certainly
don't put it
something
in
for you
writing,
guys
then
to
you'll
consider.
get everybody.
Yep.
All set, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Councilman Guardalini?
So it would be helpful to me if we could peel back some of, there's a lot of changes in this draft ordinance. So I think the action item, probably the action item that's most critical, right, because we need, you all need to know is whether we're gonna participate in this co-collection program or not. So maybe we could peel back and vote on the co-collection program and then wait for the transfer station and the bulk trash, because that's not ready yet, right, Tom? So, I think there's just a lot to absorb, to digest, no pun intended. So how I'm thinking about this, and let me know if this is right. So you need an indication from the city that we want to continue to participate in this program. However, the program hasn't been defined yet, it hasn't been created yet. We don't have any data to determine, you tell me that this is gonna save us money, but I don't have any data that shows that here's what our waste hauler is gonna charge us current, and here's what our waste hauler is gonna charge us with the co-collection program, and then are we gonna use our own bins, are we not gonna use our own bins? So I think that's the type of data I need, but I don't know. Listen, I understand that we have 800,000 sitting out there to continue on with the program, but I don't know, to me, that the program is not, it's not defined yet. So I guess my question to you is if we decide that we do want to continue with this program, would there be some continued user groups and connection with the community, and have like a start date when we think that program's ready, like a July 1 or something along those lines? I can't see how we could start up a program bringing in the whole community this quickly within the next month or two.
So I guess the good news is a lot of the community on every street has tried it or knows about it or is currently participating.
How many, what's the percentage of community participation?
So you have approximately, we think on any given week, it's been around a 20% participation rate. At times in the middle, it was significantly more, but it's like, it's a plateau. We gave a certain amount of bags, people knew when the date was, so it's, it's a little bit of a bell curve.
So there's 80% of the community that may not be participating, that are gonna be required to participate, which requires our Public Works Department to ramp up a program and staffing, and I know that we approved someone for one position, but the last thing I wanna have happen is have a good program be ruined because we acted too quickly, right? So my concern is that, okay, well, we're gonna approve this, it's gonna be effective, I don't know, December 1st, and all of a sudden, all these folks, they're garbage after somebody's gotta be there and warn them, right? And then, after the warning, someone's gonna get fined, or garbage is gonna get picked up, and I don't wanna make the situation worse than it is now. I think that this is the way to go. I don't have data to completely let me know that yet, and I'd like to see that. I know there's an RFP that went out that talked about programs, and that we would have kind of like a choice on what we think is the best program. So I'd like to see some data, but I'd also like to see us be successful, and I don't want to force this. I mean, this is no different than I said last time to you, right? I just don't think at this point in time that we could go from 20% to 100% in a month or two, and that we need a ramp-up time.
So there would be a ramp-up time. We do have data. We do have a lot of different model options. There's one key model that is the best model, and I'll do them off the top of my head. Just to give you three. There's the model that we talked about originally, which is called unit-based pricing, which is where you take those bags, they become unit-based pricing trash bags, which is what they do in 550 communities around New England, and you mark those bags up to cover the cost of the disposal. So that would bring you from around 30 cents for that 13-gallon bag to 75 or 80 cents, okay? Then you could have other size bags, which is one of the things that we've also learned. That'll yield about $1.5 million of savings a year. That is just super conservative, and that comes from looking at data from hundreds of other northeastern communities. So that's that option. We don't like that option. I mean, Tom and I have been, in the middle of this, in the thick of this, Pam, Olivia, throughout this year. So we said, okay, what's the complete opposite of that? Let's not mark up the bags at all. Let's just start with just a standardized program to begin to, get people used to the concept. And that is what we were recommending. That's about a $500,000 savings. So it's still a savings. It's not 1.5 million, but it's still $500,000 in savings is what we believe you would get the first year. And the reason that the timing is also important is your tip fee goes up July of next year.
Everyone does.
We don't know the exact number, but we know from everybody else's contracts who have been expiring along the way. You're at about $65 a ton. You'll end up at about $110 or $120 a ton. So that will bring you to approximately $600,000 in addition in the taxes next year. So that's one of the reasons we feel like this year it's really important to keep the continuity that we do have, because there is a lot of interest. And to allow you guys as a council to look at, okay, is this working? Do we want to keep this for this next year? Do we want to change the bag prices? Do we want to do it differently? But at least it gives you a full town pilot to be able to make that decision as that tipping fee goes up. The other cost that is also probably going to go up is your collection contract will end next September, so a little bit later. But again, even with competition, you have inflation and other, issues. And so it's likely also going to go up. I don't know by how much. But this savings should allow you to be able to do some of the things that the residents have also asked for. They've asked for larger recycling carts. Definitely, that's something that could be built into this, and that's something that we'd like to build in through this year. Residents have also asked for additional programs, which we'd like to ramp up and start at the same time. For instance, free curbside textile collection, which doesn't cost you all anything, but it's an on-demand collection system where you use the mobile app that you'd be using for the program. You just click a button that says textiles. It means you just cleaned out the closets. You have a couple bags of extra clothing. You click that button, the app comes back to you and says, next Tuesday, put, your stuff out on the curb. Monday night, it reminds you to do it, and Tuesday morning, it reminds you again. The same app can be used to create some additional efficiencies within the city system. For instance, white goods, your washers, dryers, that kind of thing. You guys pick those up now. Same thing. As a resident, I don't have to call in, I don't have to wait on hold, I don't have to move around through your system to get my name written down, to get a date picked for pickup. Instead, I can just click a button. It helps save a lot of, it creates more efficiencies within.
And who manages that system?
The system. It's all done online, and for this
So
grant.
locally, so we do.
Well, so for this grant program, the application is, the mobile app is covered in the grant. It's about $1 a year. After that, it's not an expensive thing to have. But the management in this case is gonna be Olivia. It's pretty easy to do. It's all automated. Like, you're not telling it what day to come. The initial implementation of the mobile app, it builds a calendar for you, so it knows what day a truck might be there to pick up those white goods. It knows what day a truck might be there to pick up your mattresses. So what we're trying to do over this year is to, and that's why I couldn't present, because I didn't have any slides, but we're trying to use this year to build a better program along the way, so that when you hit these higher tipping fees, you have something different to do, rather than just absorbing the $600,000.
So what's Deep's expectation for a start date for this mandated co-collection program for the city?
So if I could try to answer that.
Sure.
So I'm Jody Nicole, I'm with Deep, working closely with the team here and there. So it's really, there's a contract that we're working through. I don't know if you've seen a draft of it, but essentially things get initiated when you approve the ordinance. And then, as was described, what you have is a period where people who are already doing the program, so it's not that just 20% are doing it and 80% aren't, it's that every week 20% participate. So you're probably touching a much higher percentage of the residents of West Haven. The other thing to understand is that there's been a lot of education outreach that's been done as part of this program, and we want to continue that. So people have learned, they've seen things, they've been exposed to it, and we don't want to see that disrupted, because then you have setbacks and you lose that investment. So what we'd like to see is, as soon as possible after that ordinance, working with your Public Works Department and Waste Zero, roll the program out immediately. Now, again, it's not that you're gonna hit the ground at full speed day one. It's again, you're gonna, a lot of education, a lot of continued work with your residents as you get more and more people actively involved.
And one thing that might help you is the unit-based pricing programs where it's got the extreme pricing. There are so many of them around you and just north of you in Massachusetts, especially some in New York to the west, to perhaps even talk to on the phone or visit, because their finance departments understand how quickly that these programs are adopted, and also their public works departments understand that in these types of programs, you have a lot of pushback, like right now, and a lot of questions, but generally, pretty much the week that it starts, everybody just ends up doing it, and the feedback that we get back from those residents is extremely positive. That's why all of those programs stay in place, because people are like, oh, I can see, this works, this is fine, I can do it. It's just a matter of getting from this point to the next point. So we felt like the best way to do that was to look at the program differently and not look at it as a revenue generator, like a lot of programs do to cover those tipping fees, but instead to look at it as a standardized program that enables all residents, to take the food scraps out of the system and put it into separate bags, that it can be co-collected, and it helps residents to think twice about their trash, because their bag isn't black, and it isn't white, it's orange, or whatever color you would pick, but you're thinking about it differently, and we have seen that has made a big difference in the community.
And I'll yield in a minute, but I just, considering West Haven, and the chairman brought up a good point, it's not only the elderly, it's those that maybe have some type of disability that they don't have. I just think that we really need to think about this, right? And how are we going to administrate the program? What's our bandwidth? I don't think that by the time we have a public hearing, we listen to the community. I think the residents are going to know when would the start date be, where all of a sudden they put their regular trash out and they get a warning ticket, or it doesn't get picked up. I think that's something that I'm going to be asked, and I would like a date, so we know, but I think it's ambitious. I think we're in, for all intents and purposes, September. We have to have a public hearing, and then potentially the meeting after that, or that meeting, it comes up to a vote. And then, in another couple of months, there's gonna be a complete administration change. Most of us aren't here anymore. So I think that the ramp up is something that maybe we should think twice about. I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I think it's a good program. I just wanna make sure that it's done with, a lot of thought. And that's why I think it should be sometime later in 2024, but that's good.
So
Thank you.
if I may just to address that,
Yeah.
I want to make it clear, when I say it starts, when I suggest it would start right away, the control of that process is entirely in West Haven's. So you can decide when you provide a notice of a violation, and that might not be till, next spring. Give people 6 months to figure the thing out. So what we would indicate, or we really strongly suggest that West Haven make those detailed determinations with some guidance from the experts, but the decisions, Tom would make that, and if there was another public works director next year, that person would be, leading the town and making those very detailed decisions. What's important to remember is that we've all invested quite a bit. The residents have invested a huge amount of time and thought. You've all, a lot of your meeting time has been involved in this. The state's put some money towards this. We all want that investment to continue, and if you have a long disruption, you're starting that whole process all over again, and you've essentially lost a lot of the gain that you've made this past year, and we really encourage you not to lose that, because you've made tremendous progress.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that comment. Thank you. I'm all set. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Councilman Bruno. So, since we're in the same room, I'm flashing back to when the room was packed and we had the vote, and it appeared that the number one problem was communication. And I asked the question, so I'll ask the question again, even though I kind of have the answer. What happens if we don't vote on this tonight? What are the ramifications of it? Because when I asked that question last time, the simple response was, you're out of time, we're gonna put the money elsewhere. And I think that kind of jumped the gun. And that's here nor there, but the point I'm saying is, to Councilman Quagliani's point, we've made progress, but when we look back, right, so there's a reason why we teach history, and I learned this from my cousin, who was my high school history teacher. We teach history so we don't repeat the mistakes. So I'm sitting here processing, and I think back to, okay, we were asking for a little bit more time because it just appeared we needed communication. Then out came the public called it the garbage police, and we had the miswording on the tags. And that sent us, if we're playing chutes and ladders, sent us right back to, oh, here we go, they're forcing it down our throats. And then we had to ramp up over time and change those, I think it was twice. And then it was constantly deal with the Q and A. Then on the other side of it, I'm sitting here going to also, Quagliani's point, is are we going to set up the next administration for failure? And I mean that respectfully, meaning we don't know what the future holds. We're still collecting data, and I don't disagree with anybody's data here. It's, do we just vote on it and walk away and hope it works for them, or do we let that be their problem? I don't have the answer to that. I wish I did. But my concern is, sitting here, is do we need to be a little bit more patient? And I know that's tough because you guys invested money. If I were you guys, I'd say, okay, I need an answer. But I would be personally in favor of just a little bit more time. We're wrapping up summer break. We're gonna have meetings twice a month now. What would a couple weeks do to us if we were to have a giant public hearing, which something for that, we might have to have at the high school. That's just my opinion too. But I do feel like we're there, we're walking steady, but we're trying to sprint before we run. I don't know, that's just my opinion, and I'm done on that one.
I'll just quick address setting up for failure. these programs will never fail. They never fail. You will always get the numbers that I am demonstrating that you will get. I can show you 500 charts that show it. It will not fail. It will only fail if, there's a panic at the end. But it will not fail. The numbers, if you implement this, the numbers happen. It is like you're creating a new system for garbage, and as soon as people start doing it, then your waste drops. Even with this system, where it was just haphazard, you guys you saw how many people did it on your street. Some weeks they did, some weeks they didn't. We still see amazing results. So creating a system whereby everyone's being asked, even if it takes a while to ramp up, and even if it's not perfect until next July, we will see significant savings. There is no doubt about that in my mind, so the next administration will definitely see savings. It's what they choose to do, whether they choose to keep it in order to offset this new tip fee or not. That's gonna be up to them, because if you guys are a different group. But it will definitely work. That's just a fact. It's just how it works.
So if I may, to get back to your question, you asked, what is the hurry, what is the deadline? So right now, DEEP has offered us bridge funding to hold us in this window while we're deciding what we're doing. The ordinance is the indication DEEP is looking for from us that we are willing to participate. And I think we all acknowledge here that there was a haphazard rollout of the initial program, but that's because it was called a citywide pilot. So the next town is benefiting from the fact that this town figured out that we had slightly too small bags, that we needed a different size bag, that, it would serve you well to hit the ground running first day, have your notices. We were learning on the fly that people were getting nervous because they saw us out there stickering, and I took a lot of calls saying, why are they looking at my trash? Well, we weren't. But I get it. None of this change is easy. The bigger set up the next administration for failure is if we do nothing. That's the biggest, because you have to find this money someplace. So that's, it's the right thing to do. We actually have to now acknowledge the way we got rid of trash 50, 40, 30 years ago has changed. And we have to come into the times.
And I think, and I agree with everything both you said, but also, I guess, third time's a charm, I'll piggyback on Councilman Quagliani's. I think it comes down to that communication, and the number one comment I've gotten from my constituents is, when am I gonna see the benefits of participating in this program? So it's simply, where does it affect my tax dollars? So we just had a slight mill rate increase, so at the end of the day, we can sit here, we can theologically talk numbers. We're not just pulling them out of the sky. We're making educated round ballparks here. But I think with the tipping fees coming, if we were to, I don't want to call it an algorithm, but sure, I'll call it an algorithm of what is this going to do to my personal taxes and how much are they going to go up if I don't choose to participate in that program. Because I think at the end of the day, it's no different than a car wash or going to the grocery store for your eggs and milk. It's what's going to give me the best bang for my buck. And I think once we can establish that round number, I think it's going to incline us a more easy transition.
So that number is approximately $600,000. I can round it. We can probably press the waste to energy facility to see what the exact number is going to be. I would also recommend probably an RFP because you're out of that contract. So every dollar you can get it down off my estimate is important. So we're not going to know that exact number probably for a little while. But it's not going to, you can look at the tipping fee for everybody else around you. They're not just going to say, you guys are special and we're going to give it to you for significantly less. I mean, that's not going to happen. So I can give you 10 tipping fees that are surrounding you. You could maybe look at it that way. But my feeling is once that fee comes out for the contract that you're in with the other group, that you do go out to RFP to look for alternative disposal to see if you can save anything on it.
I'm good, Chairman, thank you.
Councilman Boras.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Just a couple of questions. Basically, part of what Councilman Quagliani was saying. You guys were saying that he was stating that he would like to see numbers. which is very important, right? We hear you talk, but we don't see no numbers here, actually.
So I actually did numbers at the last meeting, so maybe some of you were not there, but I did actually
I
show,
don't see it. All right,
show
and
the
the second
numbers,
thing
yeah.
is, a lot of people tell me things like, where do we get bags? I work in City Hall, so I hear that maybe 1,000 times, you know? And I think the marketing is, I mean, you gotta market it, right? If you don't market your product good, that's why it's gonna affect your numbers. Like you're saying you get 20% here, 20% there, but obviously a lot of people know where to get their garbage bags in the supermarket, but when it comes to these orange bags and all that, they just don't know, right? They come in here and they gotta ask a million people before they get the answer. So before anything you wanted to progress, how do you expect it to get to that 80%, at least that 80% level? If people don't even know where to get the bags.
So again, what we will do is continue to tag the carts, because everybody gets it, you know, and that's the benefit of the negative tag that went out there, is we know everyone saw it. So that is the best way to get to the residents. We will let them know what the stores are. We have let them know what the website is. So we will continue to message to them weekly. I mean, we have it in the budget to weekly provide something. So residents will find out. I mean, if they're putting their trash out, you know, they're getting it, either on the can that they've left out, or we're leaving it on a glass window, or even in their doorknob, along their doorknob.
Some people say
we'll get it.
they went to places and there was no bags. So, I mean, you
So,
know.
so the bags, because it was a pilot, there weren't always bags, but we do have the Stop and Shop, we do have several of the other stores. We also are, you know, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg. We have all of the Krausers, we have Walgreens will take it, but it's a bit of a chicken and egg because ShopRite only wants to carry it if it's definitely gonna move forward as a program. Aldi definitely wants to be helpful if it's moving forward as a program, so it's hard for me to say that it is, if it isn't, so I think that we can make sure that they're available in all the stores. Again, part of the ramp-up is, you know, we can't get mad at you if you couldn't find bags.
I would just
Also,
like to see more marketing in it, you know, because I'm sure this program could kick off really good. It's just the communication and just market it really good. I mean, your
well,
product.
something else that I did suggest at the last meeting for those people that were there is I'm happy to work with a group, a committee, to get your opinions. It is your town, you're out there, you know what people might, what the best way might be. But I'll also say, I've been doing this for 37 years now, and back in the day, we put it on the news and you put it in the newspaper and people got it. Now everybody gets their information in all different ways, so it's very difficult to reach people. It's a different animal.
And I would say your analogy on marketing is a good one, and we agree. The marketing guys will tell you, you want to continue keeping that message out there. And so that's why we really strongly suggest that we don't have a break. We want to keep the messaging continuous.
Thank you.
Also,
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Hosky.
So, I have three mentions. I think, when I was in school, they did marketing, they came in, when I was a child, they came into the schools. And I think that if you're looking to change the way people do things, it could start with their kids in the house. So I would encourage maybe reaching out to the Board of Ed and seeing what you could do in that way. We used to see the Native American up with the trash, and there's this whole thing, and I, to this day, I'm insane about
Remember it,
trash.
right.
I can't stand it on the ground.
We're working with the
Just-
Board of Ed.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
also,
right, okay.
we did present to all of the elementary schools and the middle schools in the spring, but it is part of the going forward plan, and we do have funding in for that. We think the schools can also move into food scrap collection as well. So, you know, so they start doing it at school also, so that's part of it. Also, your building here, same thing, planning that as part of the rollout.
Okay. My other thing, I say this respectfully, so why would Olivia be a part? She's our grants writer. We need her to get grants. I don't really understand why she would be managing an app, or not that I don't think you can multitask, or we need money. We need money for the tennis courts. Like, why would that be something she's doing and not like under Public Works, and I know you're short-staffed, but I don't see the alignment why she would.
Part-time person.
Oh, was that just an example?
I mean, it was sort of, she's been helping now because you didn't have a
Okay.
new part-time person in yet, but you do have a role for that specific person.
Okay, so she was just a fill-in?
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't want to get a call about it tomorrow, like, why is our grants writer helping with, because I will.
And
Well,
she's-
because it's a grant.
And she's really quick.
No, true.
There's
but-
money
But it's working the app afterwards or whatever.
I am the city point for this grant, so I'm the administering it. So when it comes to that, like I said, I'm being thought until we have somebody to do it. And it is pretty easy, it is automated, so it's not going to detract from too much.
No, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we had an answer in case it came up. My other question is the fines. I'm not against the idea of fining people for it. I don't understand how we would support that, and that at what point, like, what is the consequence of the fine? We currently, we have people who don't pay their taxes and have tickets at the police station, and our systems don't talk, and they're still able to register their motor vehicles. So we have these gaps. So if somebody gets fined, and I guess I have a couple problems. Somebody gets fined, and does it go to the landlord? Does it go to like a three-family home? That's, who's gonna get the fine? And then what are we gonna set liens on the landlord, I guess? Or that's just not all figured out yet? We just know there'll be fines.
No, it's no different than, if you look in our code, every aspect of our code has some form of fine at the end of it. We just don't get there.
Right.
Our intent is not to set out to make money by fining people, but if we don't have some method, right now, if somebody wants to not do their garbage the right way, we have no mechanism to deal with that. So there has to be some sort of a 3 strikes and you're out. This was what we thought would work. We have blight fines. You very rarely hear of people, we're looking for compliance, not money.
Right.
I have the same in the sewer code where we can fine people. We're looking for compliance at the end of the day. We don't want to not pick your trash up. We want to get it. But there has to be some mechanism if you refuse to work with us. And at the end of the day, to answer your question, if it's a 3-family, or with the new ordinance, it'll be 4 families and under, it would probably go to the landlord. Just like now, we would lien or blight the landlord.
Right.
And other communities that go through this especially with the unit-based pricing part, because they're really nervous about it when you're adding an extra $1 to the cost of the bag, because that's more of an incentive for more behavior change, but it's also more of an incentive to try to cheat the system. So in all of those communities, they face the same thing. I will tell you that almost no one ever does get a fine. You just work through it with people. Some people have a problem, and talking to them about it, you can usually fix it. I mean, sometimes you have deliberate people that don't do it, and then you gotta deal with that too. I mean, you know your community. And the idea is to help people learn how to do it. And again, part of the slides I was gonna put up is, that some of the outreach that we would be doing during this would be schools, we've got all kinds of games for the schools, especially the younger kids, on how to learn. The idea that we have, we would do a lot of mini videos. One of the big questions is people don't know exactly how to maneuver it at home. Do I get a little bucket? Like, how do I do this? And, part of that, we've been doing it up till now, but part of that is part of the continuing grant to be able to perfect that and get the messaging out to people so that they can succeed. The goal is for everyone to just use 1, maybe 2 bags a week. Then they save money. If they don't buy current, the typical black and white trash bags, then they save money. The other thing to sort of think about is when you pull your food scraps out, as long as you can figure out a system for doing that, with a closed bin, then your trash no longer smells bad. You'll find that almost nobody needs an extra orange bag. 1 bag's enough. So you've cut the bag usage right there immediately just by shifting the food scraps. And the food scraps themselves don't actually take up a lot of space. And they shrink over time, if you've ever watched them. If you look at them on Monday and then look again on Friday, they shrink. So you're just changing the way you do it. And we want to help people along, so that it's easy for them to do.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions about the ordinance wording here under transfer station. Fees earned from deposit bottle returns shall be credited to the Animal Shelter Fund, Food and Welfare Fund account. So,
That's just a starting point for us. If the council, we welcome any changes the council wanted to make, but we thought that was a good place.
okay, so
To
you
send them
haven't
in.
really specified anything yet, like, will there be bottle machines? Will there be someone there working? Will we have to do it ourselves? Will this replace the activity at the shelter itself, that the vertical church is
Unknown.
unknown? It's all
Unknown, because I think with that particular program, I think a lot of people want to know that it's going, so they drop them off themselves. I
Right.
don't know that we wouldn't stop that.
Okay, all right, so it's not meant to replace that program?
absolutely not.
So this is just like an added little fund for the animals
We're
at the
one of the
shelter?
few large cities that doesn't have a transfer station.
Right, I know. So, okay, that's it, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Councilwoman Donovan?
Couple things, all right, I got a lot of things. One, I'll talk about the positive that I've seen and I found was separating of the food scraps, absolutely, I think that's a great idea with the weight and everything like that. Again, I think we can agree to disagree where I don't feel that we need to have people buy the orange bags. The reason why I'm saying is because there have been numerous times, myself, even with the food scrap, I've had to go through 2, maybe 3 bags, because when I did lift the food up, it would rip in the seam, and I'd have to pick it up and put it back in another bag, and that would happen a couple times. So I don't think the mill has anything to do with it personally. I'm not doubting what you're saying, I just don't see how that's something that we have to do, is the orange bags, blue bags, whatever color you want. I do agree with the separation of the food. Now, the co-collection that we're doing, we're the only ones doing it, correct, in the state?
A few others are also piloting.
In the state?
Yes.
As well. All right, I know we need to look at the cost, if we do a separate for the food scraps, what that cost is gonna be. I know there's a price tag on it, but if we're going to be saving on one end, we might be able to, you know, make that up on that end, all right? There's things in here that I don't agree with. I think that with the state wanting us all to do that, every town to do it, but if we're the ones that are piloting and we're the ones that are basically setting forward for the other towns to look at, right? And we're the ones making mistakes, so to speak, not bad mistake, but learning lessons, let's do it that way. The bags should just keep coming if that's the case, for free, in my opinion. I don't think people, because people have gone and bought them, they're only allowing 5 bags, so they're going a couple times a week, sometimes, depending on the big family. So I don't understand that particular thing, and that's not your issue. I think that's an issue with the other.
It is our issue, though, if
With the
if we can
stores.
jump in for a second.
Yeah.
Because I questioned myself what was the need for the colored bags, and let me try and do this a different way.
Mhm.
You're suggesting that we just go back to the black bags, go back to whatever bag you want.
Right.
What is the incentive to going back to your illustration that you gave us, where you said the green bag broke and you had to use 2 more? You were aware of those 2 because those 2 bags cost you. If you have 100 black bags, and you can just keep pulling black bags out, what is the incentive? We're doing this deliberately, only 5 bags. I questioned that. I said, why can't I get 20? Because we want to train you that that should be enough to get you through.
A month.
A month. So that's the purpose.
I get that. I get it, what you're trying to, I hate that word, train people, it's like, but I
Condition.
understand what you're saying, but there are people that are not going to, and I'm speaking as, from my residents that I hear from, my constituents. They are absolutely, no matter what we do, we could put a $1,000 fine on it, they are absolutely not going to do this program. But I'm not worried about that because it doesn't matter, they're gonna absolutely not do whatever anyways. My concern are, again, it's been brought up, the seniors that don't have the apps, they have flip phones, they don't know how to work apps, the seniors that can't afford even 5 bags, and you may think that's not true, but there are seniors that cannot afford the 5 bags And I know we're talking about giving them the bags for free, which, again, I still think that we should be giving all the residents. I could pay for I'm grateful enough where I could pay for the bags, so I don't care about that, I'll do it, but I just think that if the state is really pushing for us to do it, the state should be funding us the bags. Just my opinion, I'm not speaking for the constituents either. Other things in this ordinance that I have issues with, obviously, I can ask the chairman, are we voting on this tonight?
No, it's got a public hearing.
Okay, good, because I wouldn't be able to vote on it. Talking about the transfer station, how I read in there, I believe it's 1 cubic yard per household per year, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, don't we have 1 cubic yard on our bulk trash? It's only 1 cubic yard, and we're getting it twice a year. So I don't know why we have to reduce that in half as well. And I know it's just.
We don't.
It'll be
It was
something that we need to talk about.
It was a
That's why I'm
starting
glad we're not-
point.
we're not-
Everything was open for negotiation.
Yeah, I get that. But getting back to the simple things with the bags, and I know we kind of drag this out every time we talk about it, but it does become, and I do it, I've learned a lot, I like it, I like using it. Again, I'm just talking because I got a lot of constituents that are calling me, and I'd rather my phone not blow up all the time over stuff like that, but it does happen. I just don't know how we can go around it without, the green bags, and I agree with the green bags being separate for the food scrap. I just don't get the orange bags, having to use the orange bags, but I know you said it's because they don't break. I haven't been on the truck to see whether they do or don't, but just my opinion on that, so. But that's all I have for now, since we're not really voting on it. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Does anybody else from the council have anything they'd like to ask? So I would like to say that I think you did a reasonably good job rolling this out. And I know you've been before us now more than once. I agree with the gentleman stating that I would hate to have this lose its momentum. I think the people are, 20% of people are now complying, so to lose the momentum would be concerning. I'm also concerned about losing the $800,000 that Deep's putting before us. I'm also concerned about the tipping fees going through the roof, where it could cause a possible tax increase. So I'm personally in favor of a lot of it. Yeah, some of this needs to be tweaked a little bit, which could be done. We're gonna call for a public hearing, is what the consensus is, and I'd like to ask the council to consider, Mr. Chairman, a special meeting on this or something, to move this sooner than later. I just don't think that we should sit on it because of the importance of it. I mean, our tipping fees are gonna go through the roof, we can't control them. But at this time, I think you've done a good job rolling it out. I think that we were potentially to lose the momentum, which is concerning. And I know you've been before us before more than once, and I appreciate you coming. So I'm gonna request that we, Mr. Chairman?
Still an opportunity?
Sure. Thank you.
So I just want to go back to what my comments were before. I think that we should separate the ordinance and work on the co-collection program piece of it and table the rest of it, since we don't have a lot of those elements yet that are in operation. So, I mean, if you read I think Tom had said that this is the first go-around on the ordinance, and we could tweak it, but if you do a first reading, you're reading, you're bringing out everything that's in this draft ordinance, that's all.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, so are we saying that we should have the
It's your
first?
choice, I'm just saying where I'm at.
I would very much be in favor of that, if that's what the consensus is. I would ask Stacy to do the first reading.
No, that's my point.
That's, I think, what he's trying to say. He wants it separated. Am I getting that right?
Do you have concerns with separating it?
I'm not sure what that would look like.
Well, right now, right now in that draft ordinance, you have all sorts of stuff, right, that you said that still is kind of work in progress. Can we just separate it, and then the public hearing would be on the co-collection program, and then we could wait for the transfer station and those other things that
I don't have a
that we
problem.
don't have
You
operational
okay
yet
with that?
anyway?
Yeah.
So I have a,
Sure.
I guess it's a clerical problem. How would we separate that when there wasn't actually communication concerning that to hold a public hearing on? That is a lawyer question.
Who did it? Did Mike do it? Who's the lawyer?
Because we have before us changing the ordinance, which would require a first read of the ordinance, and now we're separating the ordinance out of the communication, which the communication doesn't include anything else but the ordinance. So it doesn't have anything to do with the program.
So part of those 11 or 12 points are related to the
Am I
transfer
right?
station.
Yeah.
And if they take those out.
Could we not strike that?
Well, I think it's the way that you make the motion to move it along. You could kind of separate it out in the wording, in the language of the motion.
So strike out strike out the transfer station piece of it.
The sections of the points that are outlined in the summary that deal with the transfer station,
So it's
Could be
still,
tabled.
this is still an ordinance that we have to publish for the public hearing, so we have to,
We would need them to give us.
I think the
an
goal,
separate order.
if you don't mind, I think the goal is, at least for me, I am supportive to continue the discussion regarding the co-collection program. A lot of the other things, leaf bags, bulk trash, transfer station, are things for a later date because we don't have that operational right now. But if we just move forward with the draft ordinance,
yes.
the first read, and then we come back in 2 weeks, and I say, well, I don't, I just want to work on the co-collection, then we have to start all over again, because we're changing the ordinance. I don't want to have to do that. I want to just be able to move forward with whatever the new draft language is for just working on the co-collection piece of the trash ordinance.
So I think we can strike those, right? And
Yeah.
we could strike those, given amended by the morning for publication.
You're the boss, you're the attorney.
so we would still be publishing an ordinance, a draft ordinance, and if it changes again, we have to start all over again. Councilman Quagliani's correct. It would have to be republicized again. So I'm thinking, maybe you want to just talk about the programming part of it, which isn't really on, I don't know.
In other words, if we put, may I? In other words, if we put this ordinance in, published, and we do changes, you gotta redo it
Got to
all over
redo it again and publish it again.
That's my experience.
Yeah, that's exactly what we have to do.
So, I mean, if you want,
So I don't know, again, I don't know what Deep's thought is, but I mean,
Table this order to the special meeting with the communication that is just concerning the program.
Sure, go ahead.
No, not withdrawn, just held.
no, we could hold it.
We could,
We could hold it. We could hold and have a special meeting and then go from there. Or we could amend it.
we would have to amend it, but you don't know what your amendments are. Do you know what your amendments are until you talk about the program, right?
Yeah, we might have to.
You could
So
amend this
guys,
ordinance.
respectfully, I wanted to know what Deep's concerns were, and in all honesty, they're saying as long as we can move, they have to have something moved by the end of September. So we're being honest with you here, and maybe we can come back with something that'll, so you want to strike all the separate?
Well, I think it's kind of an all or nothing proposition in its current state. So the way it was proposed, the way it was advertised for discussion tonight is in that whole form. So I think it's kind of an all or nothing.
Okay.
For the purposes of tonight. But if we can get another special meeting with respect to this before that, just to keep the funding aspect of it in
Because
play.
my end, I don't have a detailed understanding of your process, but my understanding is you have to have a second meeting for an approval. And I think your next regular scheduled meeting doesn't allow for a first reading because it's 9/11. So if your first reading of the amended ordinance is the end of September, then the second reading would have to be in October, and that gets beyond the timeframe that we can operate. 'Cause
And that's the concerning part right
Yeah,
there.
we could have a special meeting.
So I just have a special meeting on it before that,
We appreciate it.
just on this subject.
Yep. So we'll come back to you with something that's just this.
Good.
Leave out some of the other stuff.
So we're gonna hold it.
Hold it and have a special meeting.
We're gonna hold it, and we'll set a date for a special meeting,
And when you come up again.
right? And you'll get a revised, okay.
Yeah, maybe hold
I-
a workshop or something.
So
right?
moved.
No.
That
Okay.
we're gonna hold it, that
You
we're gonna hold it
don't
for a
have to-
special meeting, so
You don't
moved.
have to, you don't
Okay.
have to do that. You don't have to make a motion to hold it. The chairman of the committee can just hold it.
Just gonna hold it.
We have to withdraw our motions and our seconds for discussion, which was made by Boris and
Yep.
O'Connor.
No, I
Okay.
take it back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
And I'll send Olivia the slides that I
Yeah,
was
could
gonna
you send the
do,
slides
so
to
that
us?
she
That'd be
can send them
helpful.
out. And also the dates of all of our sessions, so you're always welcome to join one of the public
I suggest you have a
sessions,
workshop or
because we
something.
can answer questions.
Workshop.
Thank you.
Add us at the special meeting and then develop it from there.
All set there, Councilman?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let me just end that at 8. So the legislative matters is over at 8:55.
All right,
Thank
now
you,
we'll go
Steve.
to public lands. Councilman Donovan.
Thank you, Chairman. The time is now 8:55. Committee on Public Lands is now in session. Members present are Councilman Quagliani, Councilwoman O'Connor, Councilman Bruno, myself acting as chair, Councilwoman Hamilton is absent. We have before us today communication B from Mayor Nancy Rossi regarding tentative lease between City of West Haven and NEPCO Rock City, what is it, Brewery? I'm sorry, Rock Street Brewery LLC, 6 Rock Street, West Haven, Connecticut. I'd like to have a motion to, entertain a motion to bring this out for discussion.
So moved.
The lawyers are, okay.
I'll introduce everybody.
Oh, you, okay, perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. So I just want to speak very quickly, and then I'm going to we have some professionals that have done some professional work that is very credentialed, and I want them to speak for themselves. And basically, as I've done, and I'm very glad that Eleanor Slomber figured it out, I put everything, I made sure that everything was as explicit as possible from the professionals, and it was up on the website. So anybody who didn't read it, didn't look for it, because it really is there. So we're going to have different professionals, and the first one I'm going to call up right now is the gentleman who has done the real estate appraisal report, and it's by Karen and Fazio, and it's Chris. Karen, can you just come up and address the council? And then they will have questions, I'm sure, so just state your name and business address for the council. Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Chris Karen. I'm partner in the firm Karen and Fazio. We're located 23 Sherman Street, Fairfield, Connecticut. Just to give you a little background, I'm a state certified general appraiser in the state of Connecticut. I'm a licensed real estate broker. I've been practicing in the state of Connecticut for 34 years. What our firm does, we do, Karen and Fazio performs fee appraisals. We do appraisals for bank financing, eminent domain, divorce work, yellow book appraisals, all tax appeals, all types of appraisals in the state. I also, the same partners are partners with Municipal Valuation Services, which is a revaluation firm that performs revals of municipalities throughout the state of Connecticut. We've recently done Stamford, Connecticut. In the past, we've done New Britain, New Haven, Bristol, Connecticut. All in all, we've appraised over $100 billion of real estate in the state of Connecticut throughout my career. I prepared a market rent analysis of this property. I'll just briefly go through it. I know you were supplied with the market rent analysis. Briefly, the subject property, it's 4.38 acres. It's currently improved with a 23,554 square foot museum and conference center that has been closed for several years. The property is in fair to poor condition currently. There were approvals that were sought in 2012 22 for a 46,000 square foot facility on this property. I understand that the neighbor appealed that approval, and so we're here today talking about a significantly reduced footprint of this property of 12,000 square feet. And I think that's important because this is a large parcel of land. It's over 4 acres in size, and it could support much larger than 12,000 square feet. But as a condition of my appraisal, I'm appraising this property as if a lessee could only build a 12,000 square foot building within the existing footprint, which I understand is what is proposed here today. So just a couple of points that I think need to be made. First, the property is located on Captain Thomas Boulevard, at least the most trafficked road is Captain Thomas Boulevard, and it has a traffic volume of about 8,200 cars per day. This is essentially a land lease. Although there is a building on this property, the lessee will not be essentially occupying and using the building as is. They will be investing a significant amount of money into this property. The building has limited, if any, positive value contribution as it sits right now. I think a buyer or a lessee of this property would either demolish this building or they're going to significantly renovate it and use the shell of the building. Either way, there will be significant expenditures estimated at between $3 and $4 million to actually construct the brewery that will be operating on this property. Second, the lease, as is typical with these types of land leases, is predicated on a triple net basis, which means that the lessee will be paying the market rent, and in addition to that, they will be paying all of the operating expenses of this property, including the real estate taxes. Once the property is developed and the money is invested in it, the real estate tax burden would be the responsibility of the lessee. Third, the lease calls for escalations over the lease term, which is typical in these long-term land leases, to account for any increases in CPI and market value over time. Based on my analysis, which is set forth in the report, it's my opinion that the current annual market rent for this property is around $44,000. So the $48,000 that is being proposed here, I think, is reasonable in light of the current market for this property. Any questions that you may have?
Open it up, yes, Councilwoman Hoskins, sorry.
I understand that you're saying, and it needs to be asked, and it just needs to be addressed. Like, I can't do this whole footsie around. So you're saying what the market value is, but then we have resident after real estate expert, after commercial, and to just respect the experience that they're coming in and saying that the Dunkin' Donuts 2 blocks down is paying double. How do we, I so want this brewery to happen, but I need to be able to walk the streets and not think that I'm gonna get aid because I was the dumb councilwoman that allowed them to come in and steal from us. How do you answer to that? Like, what is the answer that we give the community when they believe that we're allowing the brewery to, and I'm not an expert in real estate,
Yeah, so I haven't been at the past meetings. I haven't obviously talked to the residents that have concerns over this. I was, earlier today in this meeting, there were a couple gentlemen who came up and spoke about this issue. There was one gentleman who's a broker from a reputable brokerage agency, and he mentioned that, he actually mentioned the land lease to the Dunkin' Donuts, which was about less than half of what this is. It's not double, it's less than half. And he provided that for the record tonight. There was a discussion about leasing maybe some office space or leasing a house, and how those would be much higher leases. A house exists. Office space exists. This property, this building does not exist. We're just leasing the land component, or you're leasing the land component of this property. it's the lessee's responsibility to put up the building. Once the building is up and operating as a brewery, of course, the lease rate, if they were decided to lease that out to a third party, would be much greater than what the land component is leasing for. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is houses and office space lease on a gross basis, which means that the rent that's paid, if you rent an apartment, you pay the landlord the rent. And out of that rent, the landlord has to pay all the expenses, the taxes, the snow plow, the maintenance and everything. That's not the case here. This is on a net lease basis, which means that the tenant is paying the base rent plus the tenant is going to pay directly all of the real estate taxes, all the maintenance expenses, all the operating expenses that have to do with that property. The third thing that I want to mention is if you look at this property and just say it's 4.38 acres of land, and I could do anything I want with this property up to its highest and best use, its market rent is going to be higher. I would put an apartment building there if I could, and it would be a much higher rent. But you are restricting this as a council to a 12,000 square foot building. And once you do that, you lower that market rent, because I, as a builder, investor, developer, I'm going to pay based on how much building I can put up there. If I could put up the 46,000 square foot building that was initially proposed, well, that rental rate would be significantly higher than if I could only put up a 12,000 square foot building. So if you look at the appraisal, there's a significant reduction in the market rent because you're limiting this to a 12,000 square foot building. And that's your decision on what you want for the town. You may want, some people may want to see nice waterfront apartments there. And if you wanted to do that, you could certainly get a higher rental rate for this property. But my analysis is predicated on what was provided as far as the limitation of a 12,000 square foot brewery.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Okay. So, I know you stated for the record, but I just want to maybe do it again. You appraised this, and you did all of this work to get what was in the best interest of the city? Or was it just to do were you Switzerland between the two parties? The residents that are watching and the residents that are who hired you and who in doing this? Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, I was hired by the town.
By the town.
And I'm asked to establish market rent, which is something that we do quite often. And market rent is what a lessor would lease a property for and what a lessee would pay. So it's in between. If it's too high, you're not going to get any interest in people coming. If it's too low, then the lessor's position, you wouldn't lease it for too low because you could always get more. It's the same thing as market value. Market value of a home, it's what a willing buyer would buy it for and a willing seller would sell it for.
Right. So I guess basically you don't have any skin in the game. You don't benefit from it being $10,000 or $20,000 a month or it being $2,000 a month. You just do it based on your experience and your knowledge and all these factors, because this is West Haven and these are all the things that people will wonder. So I don't say that for any other reason but that the public understands that you were hired to do a job and it's going to be the same job you do here or somewhere else because it's your job.
Yes, and one of the qualifications of why people hire appraisers. Brokers can advocate for their client, right? An appraiser has to be a disinterested party. There's a certification that I signed in this, saying that I have no interest at all in this,
and I just want it for the
yeah,
record.
that's fine.
Yeah, like
I understand.
respectfully, because,
It's in every appraisal report. My compensation's not all contingent upon any decision that's made here. It's simply my opinion of what I think the fair market rent of this property is, given the facts that I was given.
thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. I'm all set, Councilman.
Councilwoman comment?
For the record, I want to say that I'm very angry. I'm very angry that a short-sighted, greedy businessman is holding this land hostage. We, as a council, I feel, did not vote on a $12,000 restaurant. What we voted for was a brewery, the way exactly like the developer wanted, them coming in with the Lego-type building and everything. Please do not say that it was us as a council that voted for the 12,000 square feet, because I personally did not vote for that. And if it was the way it should be, the building would already be almost done.
Yes, I don't know, I'm sorry if I said that you voted for it. It was my marching orders to say, to be limited to a 12,000 square foot building.
Yeah, that was not us.
Yeah, so
That's not
that's
what we
my marching
voted
orders.
on.
I'm not appraising this to its highest and best use, which would be, maybe a 25,000 square foot building or some other higher use. I was limited to a 12,000 square foot building, because that's what that's what I was told that the lease was being written based on.
And I'm sorry I took it out on you.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Tucker?
Can I just ask you to restate what your amount was? Did you say $48,000?
My conclusion was $44,400 for the first year, per annum, for the first year.
So for waterfront property?
Yes, for this waterfront property,
For the entire year?
for the entire year, yes.
So I'm, that's amazing that that's what you came back with.
If you look in the appraisal, you'll see that there are comparables in there that have water views. There was nothing that was on the water, but there were a couple properties that have water views that had sold, that we used as comparables. We came off those because of the limitations of zoning, as far as not being able to put up a multifamily property on this site, and also by virtue of the 12,000 square foot limitation. But given those, that would be the market rent for this property.
That's fascinating to me, that you came up with that amount for waterfront property.
It's reasonable, in my opinion, for this property.
Sounds like that's your opinion.
You all set, Councilman?
I'm all set.
Councilman Bruno?
Thank you. So, just so I understand, you're saying that the building itself, the 12,000-foot building, has zero value?
As it sits right now.
Right. With water to it, gas to it, sewer to it, it has zero value?
Yes, I think a developer of this property would either demolish the building, because it was not designed and constructed for a brewery. It was designed and constructed for a museum and conference center. So it would either be demolished, or it would be significantly retrofitted on the inside. They may be able to maintain the shell of the property, but it has no significant value contribution. Most of the value there is in the land.
And to Councilwoman Tucker, you said that the comps around it were not waterfront, but water view.
They were.
Isn't that a substantial difference from water view to waterfront?
For this commercial property, we made some adjustment for it, but it's not as significant, because you do have water views, you do have apartments that are located across the street from water and benefit from a water view amenity. This use also would benefit from a water view amenity.
Right, but you said that if we were gonna use apartments as comps, or put apartments there, it would drive the real estate value up, but we're not gonna use that because it's restaurant use.
Yes, but one of the sales that took place was actually developed with some multifamily. So I adjusted it down to reflect the fact that this property could not be.
Nothing else right now.
Councilman Guardiani?
So just so I understand, the appraisal is based on the land. The building has no value. Is that, or the building has value based on 12,000 square foot of a building?
Yes, the building has no value, because you would have to spend, as the lessee is intending to do, spend $3 to $4 million to get that building for use to change the use to a brewery. I'm essentially talking about the land value there.
So when would the building have value?
When would a building have value?
Like if we put a roof on that building, is there value to it?
If you put a roof on that building and it could be retrofitted, that would improve the value, yes.
But, yeah, I'm just trying to understand because, again, so forget the roof comment. So if it can be retrofitted, it has value, but that's what the proposal is, to retrofit this building into a brewery.
In order to retrofit this building into a brewery, they're going to have to do significant renovations and alterations to the structure. Essentially, you have the shell of the building, which they would maintain. Oftentimes, and most of the times when a developer has to retrofit a building, it would be easier, cleaner, just to demo the building and build from new. So it doesn't have any significant value contribution, the existing structure. It's in fair to poor condition. It would need significant renovations to use it, and it would have some, I'm sure, functional issues that if they retrofitted the existing building versus if they built from scratch, they could design that building exactly to the specifications.
So it doesn't matter the square footage, right? You did it on 12,000 square feet, but the building is double that, it's 24,000 square feet, but that wouldn't contribute into increasing your valuation.
I based it on 12,000 square feet, which is the footprint of that building. If they were allowed to do 24,000 square feet, my market rent conclusion would be higher. But the lease is written based on 12,000 square foot footprint, and that's what I was
I think I have that
told to
question
base it
for our
on.
attorney, but the building's 24,000 square feet, so unless they're gonna allow us to sublet it for the other 12,000 square feet, I don't know why we wouldn't lease the whole building at 26,000 square feet. So again, I'm still trying to understand. So you said the building had no value. So whether it was 12,000 or 24,000, what difference would the value make?
Well, as an investor or developer, if I could build 24,000 square feet on a parcel versus 12,000 square feet on a parcel, I'm going to pay more money for the 24,000 square feet because it's a larger building, it's more rent, it's more square footage that I could generate income from. So when you restrict the value from the 46,000 square feet that was originally approved to just a 12,000 square foot footprint, obviously they're not going to generate nearly as much income from that building as they would have for the larger building. So that's
The
why.
building is 24,000 square feet. Why we're only evaluating half it, I don't know, but again, that's not a question for you. So would I assume then that your appraisal would double if the square footage doubles?
If it went from 12,000 to 24,000 square feet, it would be close to a double, yes.
Okay. All right, I'm good, thank you.
Just a question. We have people that live, I work at the tax office, so we have people that live real near by the water, and they're paying $25,000, $30,000 in taxes. Just hard for me to understand 44,000 to somebody that lives near the water paying $25,000 in taxes, and for such a big building. It doesn't. I mean,
Yes, so this is not the tax levy. This is just the land rent. Once they invest the 3 to 4 million and the building is constructed and operational, there's going to be an assessment that's going to be placed on that property by your assessor's office. And then they're going to have to pay taxes in addition to this amount of money. So I don't know what those taxes are going to be. I haven't asked to estimate that, but this is just for the land rent.
Would you say
Taxes
that-
would be additional.
Would you say that the taxpayers in West Haven should at least get a second opinion on that? All the information that you're giving, or a second opinion? Would you think that if you was selling it or renting it, wouldn't you think that a second opinion would maybe be worth it? To see maybe if there's more value in what you're saying?
That would be up to you. It's my opinion of value. I testify in court a lot, over 100 times in federal court and state court on tax appeals, eminent domain, all types of issues. So that would be your decision.
Thank you.
Well, let me understand this. If the building was 24,000 square feet we could get more money for it. Now it's down to 12,000. They're gonna renovate it, so they're gonna pay taxes on this, the equipment inside and taxes on the building itself too, besides the rent? Am I getting that straight?
Yes, if it's like, unless there's any abatement that somebody is, that I don't know about, basically, when you build a building, you know, just like anyone else, you lease the land or buy the land, you put up the building, you put in the operation, you have to pay taxes on the land and the building, in addition to your land rent.
But what I'm saying, they're gonna be doing it, right?
They're gonna, it's a triple net lease under my scenario, they're gonna be responsible for that, as well as all the maintenance on the property and the maintenance on the building. And if they default, you get the land and the building. So it's a pretty secure position as far as a land lessor.
Thank you.
I have a couple things before so, you're the lawyer that negotiated this whole contract, or you're the lawyer that, are you a lawyer or you're real estate?
No, I'm not a lawyer.
You're not a
I'm a
lawyer.
real estate appraiser
Okay.
that was hired by
Gotcha.
the city to just estimate the market rent for this property. I didn't have anything to do with the negotiation or anything to do with the lease whatsoever.
Is that lawyer here that negotiated this contract, Mayor, do you know? Is that
As far as you're talking about the lease?
the lease negotiation? Yes.
We have Mike and Jello here because Karen Kravitz was the one who did the lease, but she could not be here tonight.
And Mike, do you know enough about this?
A little something, but.
I guess we'll find out, right, when we start asking him questions, right?
Well, hold on a second, he works for the city. So
Yeah.
how is he gonna speak on, who drew the lease?
Karen Kravitz is the one. who-
Right, so how is he speaking on her behalf when he works for us?
She's just gonna.
Just trying to answer questions.
Just want to answer questions, so.
Okay, go ahead, I'm a little confused about it, go ahead.
All right, so, probably not done with you yet, sir, but Mike. So, just to simplify this.
Yeah.
So, looking at 44,400 per year for rent?
That's my understanding.
Okay, for how many years?
I believe it's for the first 10 years.
And then after the 10
It escalates, increases.
to how much? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I believe there's a 10% increase.
10%? Okay. Why not, just to be on the record for people that don't have the
Yeah, I
contract,
mean,
or
I-
see
I-
the
yeah.
contract, so that's why I'm asking those questions there. Again, if it's a $24,000 square foot, and I don't know who can answer this, and they're only using 12,000, what,
Sure, so my understanding is that the applicant, the potential proposed leasing is leasing 12,000 square feet.
and what about the other 12,000? What do we have any idea what we're doing with that?
Not that I know of, no. My understanding is it's essentially leasing the land to the individual, which is, it's a standard ground lease. So in a ground lease,
Yeah,
let's say you got a vacant lot, and you want to build, let's say the Dunkin' Donuts, for example. You lease to Dunkin' Donuts a vacant lot. Dunkin' Donuts then
Right.
comes on and builds the entire building at their own expense.
right.
After they do that, they pay the taxes, they pay the insurance, and they pay the maintenance, they plow, they do landscaping, everything is on them, and you get the rent from it.
Right, so they're looking to keep the shell of the building?
I don't know if they're looking to keep, I don't know what the intent is,
All right.
but my understanding is they're looking to lease 12,000 square feet. I don't know if it's gonna be a building of 12,000 or a building of, I don't know, that I don't know.
That's kind of the questions, those are the questions we kind of need.
Crazy.
You know?
There's developers here, Gary.
So, can I,
All questions I can answer.
all right, perfect. Absolutely. I want to get these questions so that we're good to go.
My
Okay.
name's Doug Gray. I'm managing member of Rock Street Brewery LLC. We are here because we have gone through this mess with the city up to now. We proposed to come in and take the existing building to refurbish it to our use. Okay. Quite honestly, it's cheaper to rip down that piece and build anew. But To expedite it, to get the brewery open on this, we propose to take the existing building. The functionality of the first floor, the ground floor, is insignificant on this whole thing. It's in a floodplain. And we're taking the building, we're utilizing the upstairs. We'll utilize the downstairs for storage only. But that being said, quite honestly, it's cheaper and I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name, but yeah, your appraiser here has said it's cheaper, and I've done plenty of redevelopment. I've done over $2 billion in redevelopment. It's cheaper for me to rip that piece down and start new, but it would also take us 2 more years. We're here, we propose coming in this way to expedite this, to get NEBCO open in this location. That being said, if you want to go back through an RFP, have at it. We're not part of it.
Right. No, I got you. No, I was
We
just
have
asking.
proposed coming in, taking the existing building, remodeling that. It's a lot more expensive to remodel this than build from ground up. However, we'll save tremendous amount of time and also hopefully stop the lawsuits, the frivolous suits that caused us to lose the production portion
I know.
of this.
Believe me, as you know, I've been an advocate and hoping that this whole thing, and again, what that other business did was, to me, terrible,
So
but it is what it is.
we have proposed, we have come in with this proposal on remodeling the existing building to try and get the brewery open in a timely manner.
Right.
The more it drags out, there are no promises on this, and I'm sorry. Is there a case where the land is tremendously worth more as apartments? Hell, I'll give you $3 million now for apartments on it.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Okay, but that's not what the city wants.
Correct.
So
I
what we're
appreciate that.
proposing is bringing in a brewery that will help, and I can tell you from redevelopment experience, help a number of restaurateurs, help a lot of businesses around this area by being a draw basically at the end of the road on this. There's an old adage in retail development, and I've developed over 10 million square feet of retail, so I understand retail well. Fish don't shop. So we're at the end of the road. Everyone has to pass by a lot of other retailers and restaurants in this city to get to the brewery. That isn't a restaurant. It's a brewery that will serve food, but it's not a full sit-down restaurant on that. So everyone's going to benefit with this development on this. The building, the existing building, and it is crap.
Especially you.
So, but the only reason we're taking it is to get things done quickly. So if there are any
Yep, that's something
any
that-
other
any
questions, I'm open to them.
Yep. Anybody have any, on the council have questions? Yes, absolutely.
So Doug, so my question, I'll ask you the same thing that I asked the appraiser. So you're gonna, the building is 24,000 square feet. The lease is the contract is for 12,000 square feet.
No, the lease is for us, it's in essence a ground lease. We're taking the improvements that are on it and improving those improvements. Like I said, it'd be cheaper for me to actually rip the thing down and build 12 to 13,000 square feet from ground up on
Is your
this.
expectation is that you're gonna be taxed on the building and and the equipment inside it once it's built?
Yeah, we're taxed at fair market value.
All right, well,
So,
because that's
so how
change,
your
that's a
assessor,
change.
how your assessor will do their taxes is they'll ask me for a copy of the lease, which, as your appraiser can tell you, there are plenty of different ways, but the most logical way with a long-term lease is the property is valued on what that lease is paying, NEBCO paying me. They'll come in and then assess the value of the property to that, and then do the tax assessment based on that.
I'm bringing that out because that's a material change from the last time where there was a significant tax freeze and abatement for many, many years, and now that's off the table. You're gonna pay your fair market value in taxes for once that building is built and that equipment's inside. That's correct? I think that's something good to make sure that the community knows.
Yes. I wasn't involved in the tax negotiations
Okay.
on this, because I
No, 'cause
also passed
I don't
through
see anything in
to
here
them.
that talks about any type of tax abatement, so that's a positive, that's a change from the last time. That's why I wanted to mention that.
But you're caught up in the minutia on the 24,000, 25,000 square foot building. Again, we are utilizing basically about 12,000 square feet of the building. The bottom floor really is storage, and it might be 1,000, 2,000 square feet of that we're using for storage. The building functionally is terrible. But it expedites us to deliver the brewery on this site by using that building.
And I was stuck on the minutia because the appraiser said to me it makes a difference. That's why I asked him about 12,000 versus 24,000. So as a fiduciary responsibility that I have for the community, I think it's important to ask that question. But I'm gonna move off that for the minute. So the tax piece is a good thing. I think the community needs to know that because that's a change from the last proposal. My other question is that, and it's probably for Mike, Attorney Mike, okay.
Attorney Mike.
So I don't see any reference to NEBCO in the contract. Now, I think, and I'll speak for myself. When the first proposal came around they're gonna move their corporate headquarters, they're gonna have a brewery here, we're gonna be able to market brewed in West Haven, all that stuff was exciting to me because it's NEBCO. It's a known brand, it's a good brand, and I was specifically voting to have NEBCO brew in West Haven. Now, we know what happened there, right? So now we have this proposal that talks about a brewery coming, but nowhere in the contract do I see that it says NEBCO. And nowhere in the contract do I see that it says NEBCO has to stay here for so long. And I do see a sublease component in here that says that if for some reason the brewery thing doesn't work out, the developer has the right to put another authorized use within that building. It kind of carves out, know this, know that, but they could put another authorized use in the building, and that makes a difference to me, because if I vote, and if I vote at some point in favor of this, I want to make sure that it's NEBCO that's going to be down there as a brewery, not some other brewery or some other use besides it. So nowhere in the contract do I see NEBCO's name, and that concerns me. Is that typical?
Well, I mean, I did not negotiate this lease. I was not
Yeah.
part of the process. But, whoever the leasee is identified as is who you're doing business with.
Yeah, well, it's not identified as NEBCO. Okay. I'm okay for now, thank you.
Can I add to that? Just if I can?
Sure?
Yeah.
Marty?
It's always been on the project, that Doug's the developer, so he's the lessee, and we are his tenant. So just like he's
They're the
signing a lease
sublet.
with you, we are leasing, we're gonna have
A 20-year lease with options.
with options, just like the lease options that are structured in that lease. The same thing. So we're gonna be, he's the developer, he's the person that's fronting the money to do the structure and the model of it, and to get it so it's operational for us. And that in and of itself, if it's $4 million, I don't know if anybody here can tell me if they're in due finance, what the carrying cost on a month payback for $4 million is right now. It's close to $30,000 a month. So, it's, when you sit and you look at that, and then we also have the additional cost of all of the infrastructure inside the building, which will be millions more. And so the business needs to be sustainable. Unfortunately, nothing's ever been super successful in that spot. Our goal isn't to come here and not be successful and be out of business in 2 years. So it has to work financially for everybody.
No, and I get that piece, I appreciate it. So again, I told you, my concern was that your name's not there. So if you're gonna sign a 20-year lease with Doug, is there anything that would prevent you from us putting in the lease that Nebco's here for the first 20 years?
Yes. As a landlord, I can't guarantee they're going to be in business 20 years. So I have to cover my ass to have the ability to sublet when I invest $4 million in it. So Nebco will be there, and I'm hoping, I'm betting, more than hoping, I'm betting a lot of dollars that they will be there a long time. Because quite honestly, subletting again to another tenant probably means substantial costs on top of that. And which reminds me, in terms of this utilizing the shell, we are changing exterior walls and putting a lot more glass in. The building won't look any other than the very front facade, won't look much like how it looks now, fortunately.
It's helpful, thank you.
So, yeah, I need a lease that has the flexibility that if Nebco disappears in year 7, I haven't thrown money away that I don't have a return on. Did that answer? that?
You answered it, I'm not sure,
Okay.
I'm there, I'd like to see Nebco's name in there somewhere, even that they're the initial tenant.
That's fine.
You know, and then I could talk to our planning and zoning to see what a requirement is if all of a sudden you want to put some other entity in there 5 or 10 years down the road that really doesn't fit within the theme of what we anticipated.
Well, and as a landlord, at this point, I need to
Yeah.
make sure in this document I have flexibility where the council 5 years down the road can say, no, we don't like any of these tenants, we're taking the land back.
No, I understand your perspective.
So,
Thank you also.
it is a trade-off.
Councilman Bruno.
Yeah, I got a couple questions. So, nobody's guaranteeing the lease? So
It's a ground lease.
nobody's guaranteeing it though?
There's no personal guarantee on it, no.
It says none on here, so that's the
Right.
case? Nobody's guaranteeing the lease?
Right, there's no personal guarantee, correct.
Okay, and then to the fellow that did the appraisal, the way I see it, it's about $4.36 a square foot, that makes sense?
That makes sense, yes.
And that's the going rate there?
That's for the land, not including the building. I'm sure the lease to the brewery is going to be significantly more than that for a developed property.
But that's not to the city, right?
Right. But it's just the land. Yeah, $4 a square foot for the land, 36, that's
So
reasonable.
we gotta clarify something, 'cause I gotta clear something up in my own head, okay? So we're talking about, we're gonna go back to what Councilman Quagliani had to say. So we're talking about a 21,000 square foot building that you've already said you're gonna use the ground floor for some sort of storage, whatever you're gonna do with it. But we're only basing the lease on 12,000 square feet. But it's a 21,000 square foot building that we said we're gonna use some of the bottom floor for some storage. So we draw a lease for 14,000 square feet? Or are we gonna keep it at 12,000 square feet?
Maybe we can resolve this. We'll just lease the top floor. They'll do their storage at the storage unit someplace
Okay.
else. Okay? And then you're not getting any income from it. So we'll do the 44,000.
The way the lease reads, sir, no disrespect, we're not getting any income for the bottom floor anyways.
Well, the way the lease reads, actually, we're leasing the ground, we're doing the improvements.
All set, Mr. Donovan.
Councilman Boyd.
I have a question, and thank you for coming. So you're saying that you can fix the area up and say, you know what, the brewery's not working, lease it to somebody else, and then you can charge,
No, I can't. I've got a 20-year lease
right?
with them.
And if they don't work out, then somebody else comes work for you, you can charge them now more money because the building is already set, right?
How could I charge them more money?
Well, I'm saying the lease, what you're leasing it for, you're subleasing it, that's what I'm saying, yeah, you can sublease it, right?
Okay, they make payments to me monthly, right, when I lease something. They go out of business, I've got to replace them. Okay, why would you think it could be more, it could be less? Why would you think it'd be more?
'Cause
I
now
mean, you're
saying-
making a statement as if,
I'm just asking, because you're saying you're building the.
chances are, I can tell you as a landlord, chances are you lose a tenant after you do improvements, you're not getting more rent out of that. If that tenant can't make that work there, I've got to do substantial work to try and get another tenant in, and chances are those rents are less.
I'm just asking because it's business. I mean, I know you gotta make money, so I was just wondering, you know, you got the right, you got the option to sublease.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got a long, yes. If my lease expires when their lease does, you know what, as a city, spend $4 million and you lease it to them.
I was just confused too, because he said that if you spend more money if you take the building down to replace it, but you're saying it's actually less money to take the building down and replace it. That's why I was just.
Yeah, it'd be cheaper for me to demo that building is probably $100,000. To build what we would use there is probably $175, $185 a square foot hard costs on that. It's costing more to actually come in and use that building. That being said, to demo that building, we've got to go through a different process and adds another, well, with this city, who knows how long on it, but years on top of that. What we were trying to do was make a proposal to expedite this, to bring NEBCO here on this site.
And it would also make all the people that complained about having a big building there, keeping it, so the people of the town are happy, still getting a piece of it, moving my production somewhere else, and it was the best of both worlds for both.
The people want to see something there, they do, they really do. But we, as the council people, want to make sure that the city is going to make sure that what we're getting is going to help the taxpayers, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, the taxpayers, you know, they're looking for help, right?
Well, that's why you guys hired an appraiser.
In my opinion, I would like to see a second opinion on that, but thank you so much.
Councilman, I'm sorry, Chairman, I'm sorry.
So necessary, you lease it to NEPCO. They don't last the 20 years, they pull out. And you gotta release the place, you're gonna have to revamp the place, because that person that you lease it to might not be a brewery.
Oh,
So,
probably not. Yeah, if NEBCO can't make it there,
Yeah.
I'd have a real tough
So
time
you'd be
getting
losing that
another
one, too.
brewery there. So yes, there would be a substantial additional investment on top of that.
I'm good.
All right, we all set? Everybody's good? I'd like to make oh, I'm sorry.
A new set of plans that you've submitted to planning and zoning yet?
Excuse me?
Do we have a new set of plans that you've submitted yet?
No, we're not.
yet.
We're waiting until
Waiting,
this.
okay.
Yeah, to spend more money at this point of the game,
Okay,
we're
got it.
already out,
$400,000.
Okay,
and I'm out $500,000 right now. So,
sorry about that.
to spend any more money against something without knowing that it's gonna happen, then, once that happens, we'll have plans done relatively quick.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
And I'm sorry, I jumped in. I know the mayor had other people here, but it was going off into a tangent that
No,
I wanted to
appreciate
bring
you,
it back.
I do appreciate you coming up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think at this time, I'm going to request a public hearing.
You're just gonna ask the chairman for a public hearing, if that's what
Yeah,
you so choose to
right.
do. We don't have to vote on anything, we're just gonna be,
Oh, I gotta
if
do
that's what you
public
wanna do.
hearing, right? Yeah, that's all.
Second time around.
No, he just requests it,
Oh,
and
when
then
I
you
come,
schedule
when
it
it comes
at
out to the council?
at the
Okay,
committee meeting.
all right. Let's see, so I guess I'm gonna request this to come out favorably now? Oh,
We still have somebody that has been sitting here patiently, economic development,
Oh.
king, I call him,
Okay.
that I brought here for the council to give them some more information.
yeah,
Mr.
absolutely, the
Nemerson.
more information, the better. Absolutely.
What's his name?
Hi, everybody.
Your
My
name?
name is Matthew Nemerson. I live in New Haven. I'm not being paid. I'm just here as a friend of the region. I was asked by the mayor to come and just answer any questions about the impact that an economic development of this could have. I actually haven't been to this council in about 40 years. I used to be a staff director for Jack Preet. You may all remember him, a state senator here, so I certainly know West Haven well. You know, I used to be the head of economic development for New Haven. I was there for about 5 years, brought in about $500 million worth of development. But going back many years before that, I started Science Park, which took the old Winchester rifle plant, and we turned that into a big incubator center with Yale. Ran the Chamber of Commerce, as you may remember, in Greater New Haven. We also had a West Haven branch at the time, so I was very involved in West Haven affairs back then in you know, minor ways. And back then I developed the Omni Hotel. The Chamber was very involved in economic development. And in each of those cases, you know, Winchester, we bought the plant, we invested about $10 million worth of state and local money because we wanted to change people's perception of New Hallville and Dixwell and just see the impact that you know, a different view of that old factory could have. Downtown New Haven, you may remember in the early 90s, was in pretty sad shape. Park Plaza had gone out of business. The Chapel Square Mall had gone bankrupt. But we thought it could be turned around. And so we brought in about $30 million worth of state money, and we did get the Omni Hotel to come in. And eventually we redeveloped that whole parcel for land, for housing, and for more retail. I think downtown New Haven's doing pretty well right now. You know, I spent 5 years working for the city of New Haven trying to get breweries to come to River Street, to come to downtown, to come to a number of locations. I think you're very fortunate to have this kind of a use. I know the Savin Rock area well. Again, I grew up here. And, you know, my point is that I think these are very, very important issues, and I've dealt with the City Board of Alders in New Haven on issues very similar to this. And it is very, very hard to look at taxpayers and try to explain to them the difference between investing in the future of the city, because that's what we do when we reduce taxes or we make land available. But, you know, in New Haven right now was New York Times top 52 places to visit in the world. Often covered around the country as a future city for people leaving the south where it becomes too hot. And where would they want to go? They want to go to New Haven. So, and I think they'd want to come to West Haven too. So, you know, I just wanted to say, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, that I think you have a wonderful opportunity here. Savin Rock was a place that people visited for half a century, and they came here from all over the region. I think all of us in Greater New Haven are trying to be attractive to new families, to younger people coming, to make the image of all of our locations sort of positive. I think this is a great opportunity. Yes, it might have been more perfect if the opportunity to have the entire operation was here and not staying in Woodbridge. But, you know, I was many, many times disappointed in economic development opportunities in New Haven that looked great, and then we just couldn't get them quick enough, or we couldn't convince the alders, or even sometimes the mayor that it was a good project. And this is the nature, I think, of an area. Connecticut has been the slowest growing state in the country for the last 20 years. I think that's turning around. And West Haven itself, I think, has got some of the most beautiful land, best beaches. I think that this is a great opportunity. And again, I'm not getting paid. I've just, you know, I went and advocated for the mall when that was here. And as you know, that was a change in New Haven policy. For 25, 30 years, we had sued every developer who came in. But when we met with your developer of your mall, and I realized that's not going ahead right now, maybe it will, but I went to the mayor and I said, you know, this will be a great benefit to New Haven to have this in this location next to New Haven. And by the same token, while I would have loved to have more breweries on River Street, and actually met Doug working on a project there, this is going to be a great location. And I think that people who are going back and forth between Stamford and New Haven. There's a lot of commuting there. I think you're going to see a lot of people getting off the highway who probably don't even know West Haven exists right now. Great opportunity for you, and I really think at the end of the day, whether it's $10,000 or $5,000 more that maybe this land could get if it was another use, again, you've looked at housing and rejected that, I think this is a great opportunity. And so I just wanted to say that in my career of almost 40 years, actually starting right here with Jack Preet, one of my first jobs out of college, I have seen some very dark days for Greater New Haven when we were really a joke to the whole country. And as you remember, there were times when people weren't even going to Yale because they thought it was too dangerous and just a bad place to go. And now I see a time where the entire area from Madison to Milford is considered one of the hottest areas of the whole country. And people are really thinking about it in those ways. So I think a great opportunity. I think that, again, great shoreline, and I think this will bring young people, this will bring people who don't, again, even know West Haven exists to here, and I think that local people will enjoy it. So, happy to answer any questions, but when the mayor asked me to drive around and look at this, I was very excited. I mean, I just think that this is a top operation nationally. If you read Connecticut Magazine on a regular basis, what do they talk about? They talk about shoreline opportunities, they talk about breweries, they talk about restaurants, they talk about what are younger people doing, and this touches all those bases. It ticks off all of those boxes. And I think, as somebody who grew up here, lives in New Haven, I'd be very proud, and I think you will too, to see what this will bring. And I know that there will be people, as there always are, who are naysayers, and they'll be your constituents, and they will ask questions. Why do I pay more taxes, or why this or that? But I think that the responsibility of investing for the future is also part of being a political leader. And I fought many, many battles at Science Park, at the Chamber of Commerce, and with the city, trying to get the alders to think about what 5 years or 10 years or 20 years from now might look like. And all I can say is when I drive to Science Park or I look at downtown New Haven, I think those were good bets. I think this will be a good bet for you, too. So, sorry to take your time, but
Thank
happy
you
to
for showing
answer
up. Anybody have
any
questions
questions.
for not the economic development? No? Good?
I will also say that I have a company now that works with Dunkin' Donuts. It's an energy company, and we work with hundreds and hundreds of Dunkin' Donuts. And so, to the specific question, and to the specific clients or constituents who ask, why are they paying this and why not? Fast food restaurants, with their brands and with their franchise opportunities, are licenses to print money. And the opportunity, even during COVID, when Dunkin' Donuts did very, very well. As you may know, the Dunkin' Donuts brand was bought by a company, Inspire Brands, for $12 billion, because they know the value that a Dunkin' Donuts has wherever it is in the United States of America. The opportunity to have, well-known though it may be, a unique brand competing against hundreds and hundreds of other beers and special breweries out there is a risk. Owning a Dunkin' Donuts, not a risk. Getting the franchise to be on a road that has 8,200 people every morning and every evening coming through it is a license to make money. And I'm not saying that Dunkin' Donuts don't go out of business. Subway just sold, as you know, for $9.6 billion. And they're closing 500 or 600 of them, but there's still 20,000 others. This is a very, very different opportunity. The two men who were here are going to be taking huge risks, and as you said very, very correctly, what if they go out of business? What if it doesn't work? I often was faced with developers who we really wanted to come into town, and they said, if this doesn't work, are you as a city, or are you as an affiliate of Yale, or are you as affiliate of the Chamber of Commerce going to buy me out? Are you going to guarantee that I'm successful? Are you going to guarantee that there will be tens of thousands of people lining up at this business or at this restaurant or going to this hotel? And the answer is, we didn't have that money, but we maybe could have done better. So the question is, we're asking a one-sided deal whenever we bring in a developer. Fast food restaurants, one kind of a deal, a unique brewery that has to compete and has to keep that beer, popular with all different age groups, a very different situation. And I often was faced telling developers, no, I can't guarantee it. I really want you here, and I really want you to be successful, but if you go out of business and lose $5, $10, $15 million, nothing much I can do about that. And, the Rouse Corporation was the largest mall operator in America. They came in and invested $15 million in the downtown Chapel Square Mall. They lost every penny of that. Now, the city did match them. We lost $15 million too. That was actually banks and other corporations, Eklund and Connecticut Savings Bank, people who aren't even here anymore, didn't help. But these things sometimes do fail. But that's the risk that we're in. That's the business that we're in. So I think that talking to your constituents and saying, these are different kinds of risks that we're taking, and we think there can be a benefit for all of us by taking this risk, maybe even subsidizing it a little bit, because maybe you could get an extra few $1,000s if it were a less exciting or a less inviting user. So anyway, that's the business we're in. Thank you for doing it. It's a pleasure to be back, and good luck with your decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before I close the committee, I just want to say again to the council.
Hang on, the mayor's up there.
Oh, I'm
Can
sorry.
I speak?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say a few things myself. Number one, how many people on the council have been to a brewery locally here? Okay. How many breweries have any of you seen close? It's a well-established practice that if this group comes here, they're going to stay here. They're not coming here for a year or 2 years or to fail. No one comes and starts a business to fail. Now, I got in December of 17. That conference center was a mess then, and it's only been deteriorated since. Why? Because as a city, one thing we don't do good is invest in our assets. And that's an asset. And we let it almost fall into Long Island Sound. Now we have somebody who's coming here, wants to help us and help business and help everything here. And it seems like, I don't know what anyone's thinking. I'm not trying to get in their head. I guess what I would say, because this is what I've been promoting in my neighborhood or wherever I see or run, you need to talk to your constituents. This isn't all about just all of us. We represent a body of people. Now, at the end of the day, if you go out in your neighborhoods and you talk to people and they say, no, I don't want a brewery. No, bad idea. I'll use you, Gare, sorry. You're the chair. Chairman Donovan, bad idea. Whole different story. Then, okay, then don't do it. But I think at this point in time, these folks have been here for 2 years now, trying to get their business here. You want to know what people tell me? They say to me, I wouldn't care if we paid them nothing. We need the brewery here. It will bring people here. It will bring businesses here. It will bring business to all of our restaurants. If you go up and down Captain Thomas Boulevard, what do you see? Restaurants. There are restaurants there. And I'm not talking about the next door neighbor. I'm talking about the other restaurants. They would love to have this business. They would love to, and everybody enjoys that then. You want to see all of our restaurants busy, all of them. So I really am hoping that we do call the public hearing and we hear what the public has to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to remind the council that, it doesn't cost the city anything to build this. They are putting millions of dollars to build our building, basically, to suit them, their company. So in the long run, we end up with a decent building, and it doesn't really cost us anything. So with that, The time is, what's that?
You gotta do
So what do
Malcolm
we-
Road.
Oh, no. We're all good? All right, the time is now 9:58 and, oh, no, I'm not
No,
done yet. I
not
got one
done.
more.
We have, are you,
Malcolm
and I
Road.
need to know if you're asking for a public hearing.
I want to ask for a public hearing, but do I have to wait for it to come out?
He can ask for it now, and then it comes out when he schedules it.
Okay.
That's
So
how
I'm
we always do
requesting a
it.
public hearing.
And the chairman will set it in the committee meetings.
Next, we have
We have a.
communication I from Mike Agello.
So we just have to take back the first and the seconds on that discussion, because it was just out for discussion.
Oh,
And now
okay.
you've requested the public hearing, so just, we need the takebacks on Quagliani and O'Connor.
Okay.
Please do, thank you.
Oh, we have communication I, Mike, I don't even think you need to stand, sir, because this is going to be quick and easy.
Yeah.
Deputy Counsel, regarding the potential sale, lease, or transfer of 209 Malcolm Road, West Haven. We are holding that in committee since we have, obviously, there's issues to be brought up, and that needs to be corrected, so we're going to hold that in committee. With that being said, the time is now 10 o'clock, and your committee on public lands is now closed.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Donovan, now we got personnel and civil service, the Councilman Quagliani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Committee on Personnel and Civil Service is now in session. Members present are Councilman Bruno, Councilwoman O'Connor, Councilwoman Hosky, and myself acting as chair. Before us tonight, we have Communication E from Mayor Nancy R. Rossi regarding the appointment of Desmond St. Rose, 18 Tampa Street, West Haven, to the Economic Development Commission panel of alternates. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Councilwoman Hosky, seconded by Councilwoman O'Connor. Any discussion in committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Communication F from Mayor Nancy R. Ross regarding the appointment of Ursula C. Riley, 10 Hilltop Lane, West Haven, to the Inland Wetland Agency panel of alternates. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Hosky. Second by Councilwoman O'Connor. Is there any discussion amongst the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Communication G from Mayor Nancy R. Ross regarding the appointment of Jason Card, 57 Orney Street, to the Energy Commission. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Bruno, seconded by Councilwoman Hosky. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Communication H from Mayor Nancy R. Ross regarding the reappointment of Iris Diaz, 141 Tuttle Street, West Haven, to the West Haven and Allentown Fire Commission. Is there a motion to approve? Councilwoman O'Connor.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Hosky. Any discussion in committee? And also Councilman Bruno. Seeing none, all in favor?
Hold on, I have something I want to say.
Discussion, Mr. Bruno, please.
So I've had the opportunity to work with Commissioner Diaz on several different levels, and she is very, very good at what she does, and it's really an honor to be able to renominate her. I think she does a great job for Allentown, and she's very engaged.
I second that.
I third that.
Thank you, Councilman Bruno. Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Mr. Chairman, your committee on personnel and civil service is done at 10:02.
Record. That's a record.
Unfinished business?
The discussion about the tennis courts, that I did speak with Ken Carney about it, and I just couldn't remember the number that he said it would cost. He said it would cost $550,000 to redo the Painter Park tennis courts, and because we have pretty much brand-new courts at West Haven High School, they weren't going to do it right now, especially because we don't take care of we have a history of not taking care of the tennis courts at Painter Park. So he wanted to just keep it as it was. We can go back and talk about it with him. It's totally up to the council. So.
So if that is our decision, then a letter needs to be sent to Park and Rec, and we need to decide if it's unsafe. And if it's unsafe, it needs to be shut down. Not that I want it to be shut down, but I don't want to be sued because we know it's unsafe and we're allowing our residents and visitors to use it. Not sure if that's what you were thinking, but
No, but it makes absolute sense.
I wanted to add that it hasn't been renovated or maintained since like the 80s.
so do we have $500,000?
Right, Park Department to check it out.
Yep.
It'll be shut down.
So would you like me to draft up a letter or have you look at it?
I think,
Yeah.
right, I mean, if it's 500,000, I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't do it, I'm just saying if we deem something unsafe, we shouldn't.
Maybe get a report from him, ask him for like a
Yeah.
report on that.
Good idea.
Area?
I think originally it was 600,000, but I asked Ken during the meeting, and he said it was 550, but I do think it was 600 originally. That's what he originally said.
Maybe I'll ask them both to give us a
Yeah.
Sure.
update report or something.
500,000.
Yes.
I basically just want to thank Attorney Jello for getting this properties that I requested that we sold from 2021 to 2023. So I do want to thank you for getting that back to me. Thank you.
Anyone else on unfinished business? Committee reports?
No,
And,
that's me, I have to read.
Read communication aid into record.
I will do that. I can find it. Okay, we have Communication A from the tax collector regarding overpayment refunds for August 2023, which will be filed with tonight's minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Stacy. Now we'll go into committees, and we're gonna start with the Finance Committee. Councilwoman Hosky.
Your committee on finance met today, and we're gonna hold communication C. Communication J to the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven. Your committee on finance too was for the matter of the animal shelter donations. Reports that the committee met on the 20th day of August 2023 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved, the West Haven Police Department has received the following donations totaling $496 for the animal shelter per Connecticut statutes 7148C3A and B, and General Order 98-04. We are forwarding these donations for approval. The City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves the animal shelter donations to deposit into the animal shelter donations account 1010000282885. Mary J. Lappy, $50. Roseanne Kelly, $150. Angela Russo, $100, and Angela Russo, $100. Louis Dioro, $25. Donald Rogers, $20. Mala Mystery, $51.
Councilwoman Hosky read in the record, communication J. Do I hear? Any discussion?
A second, we need a second.
Somebody said second over there. Gary.
No, he said motion to approve, but it's really Hosky that is
I made
making the motion.
so it's a second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All set? Some more?
We're all set.
Okay. Move on to legislative matters. Councilman Bruno. Well, we're gonna schedule a workshop and
Because we held the communication.
talking September 5th,
Um,
because there'll be a workshop
I
to
won't be there. My son's getting married.
straighten out the wording on the
So what's the date we're calling, Mr. Chairman?
September 5th. Do it 6 o'clock?
September 5th is,
It'll be a
everybody
special
okay with
meeting.
that? What does that fall on?
Workshop, too.
I might be
Tuesday.
able to call it a special meeting.
No, you go to workshop, too.
Yeah, but that'll be the,
Shouldn't it be on Wednesday?
what's the date?
September 5th.
September.
We can do it on the 6th.
I don't know. Let me look
Special
at the
meetings are
calendar.
usually on a Wednesday, aren't they?
Well, special committee meetings are usually on Wednesdays. So if it's a special committee meeting of legislative matters, yes, it should be on Wednesday.
Do it the 6th.
So the
So it's the
6th.
6th. At 6 PM.
Yep.
At 6 PM.
I'll have Diane draw up some kind of language for that
My son's getting married on Tuesday.
workshop.
My
All
son's
set?
not getting.
That's also the public input on that, or no? That's
No.
just a workshop?
No, it's work.
That's just the council.
Okay. Okay.
All set?
Yep, September 6th.
At board.
The public lands, Councilman Donovan.
Thank you. Requesting a public hearing for the NEPCO, the lease from NEPCO,
September 25th
At
at
September 25th.
6:55.
6:55?
September 25th?
That's the night of the
Yeah.
regular meeting.
Yeah.
That is the night of our regular meeting.
Okay.
So at what
6:55.
time?
It's a regular meeting.
You wouldn't want to do it earlier in case it goes late, like
Well,
tonight,
people are gonna talk.
6:30.
6 o'clock?
6
I think
o'clock.
we're going to be talking probably
Six.
longer than an hour.
All right, do 6 o'clock.
3
I
o'clock?
think we need 6.
So you want to say 6?
Yeah.
Okay, so 20, September 25th, 6 o'clock. Public hearing. Okay? And
Gary, you're holding the other one.
And, nope,
communication I is held.
communication, I was being held.
Right.
You all set?
I'm all set.
Personnel and Civil Service, Councilman Quagliani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Honorable City Council, City of West Haven, your Committee on Personnel and Civil Service, to whom was referred the matter of the appointment of Desmond St. Rose, 18 Tampa Street, West Haven, to the Economic Development Commission. Panel of alternates report the committee met on the 28th day of August 2023 to consider said matters. In unanimous opinion of the committee, the following motion be presented. Resolved, the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves the appointment of Desmond St. Rose, 18 Tampa Street, West Haven, to the Economic Development Commission. Panel of alternates. Mr. St. Rose appointment will become effective immediately and expire on January 31, 2025.
Councilman Quagliani read in the record for Desmond St. Rose, 18 Tampa Street, West Haven, to be an alternate on the Economic Development Commission. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Communication F to the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven. Your Committee on Personnel and Civil Service, to whom was referred the matter of the appointment of Ursula C. Riley, 10 Hilltop Lane, West Haven, to the Inland Wetland Agency Panel of Alternates. Reports that the committee met on the 28th day of August 2023 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved, the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves the appointment of Ursula C. Riley, 10 Hilltop Lane, West Haven, to the Inland Wetland Agency Panel of Alternates. Ms. Riley's appointment will become effective immediately, expire on July 31st, 2024.
Councilman Quagliani read in the record to be reappoint Ursula Riley at 10 Hilltop Lane, West Haven, Connecticut, for the Inland Wetland Agency alternate. Mrs. Riley will expire at 7/31/24. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any questions? Discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Communication G to the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Personnel and Civil Service, to whom was referred the matter of an appointment of Jason Card, 57 Orange Street, West Haven, to the Energy Commission. Reports that the committee met on the 28th day of August 2023, to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved, the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves the appointment of Jason Card, 57 Orange Street, West Haven, to the Energy Commission. Mr. Card's appointment will become effective immediately and expire on February 25th, 2024.
Second.
It's not time.
You guys are killing me.
It's not my turn, I jumped out.
Councilman Craig, read into the record, Communication G, Jason Card, 57 Arnie Street, West Haven, for an Energy Commission. Mr. Card's time will expire at 2/25/24. Do I hear it?
Third. Third.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Good to go.
Communication H to the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Personnel and Civil Service, who must refer the matter, the reappointment of Iris Diaz, 141 Tuthill Street, West Haven, to the West Haven Allentown Fire Commission. Reports that the committee met on the 28th day of August 2023 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved, the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves the reappointment of Iris Diaz, 141 Tuttle Street, West Haven, to the West Haven Allentown Fire Commission. Ms. Diaz's reappointment will become effective immediately and expire on June 30, 2028.
Councilman Quagliani, read in the record as Communication H to reappoint Commissioner Iris Diaz, 141 Tuthill Street, as the Allentown Fire Commissioner. Her term will end at 6/30/28.
Second.
Any discussion? I know Mrs. Diaz a long time. She came in when the department went to the city, and she's been a commissioner since then, and she's fabulous. She does a great job. Her heart's into it, and she's a very, very fair individual. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Sorry.
We have no adoption of ordinances.
Adoption ordinances, we don't have any. Council liaison?
None?
No. New business? Adjourn.
I apologize to everybody, but I have to address it. Mike, I have a quick question for you. So you're all aware of the incident that happened last week, or started and ended last week in my district. It started on Woodmont, ended on Morgan Lane, cut through Mr. Bruno's district, and made a slight quick appearance in Mr. Forrest's district. So I'm referring to the road takeovers, illegal vehicles on the roads. My question to you, Mike, is, and I don't need an answer now, nor am I asking for one. Has there been any discussion in the past about adopting some type of ordinance to have stricter enforcement? The state's gonna do their thing, police accountability, I'm not even touching that. What I wanna touch is, what are our powers as a municipality to address it? Because I know Meriden addressed it briefly, and I know New Haven, I think Bridgeport was on the list. Is there a possibility of a seize and destroy? I mean, what are our options? Because I would like to make it where people think twice about cutting through West Haven again.
Well, I'm not going to speak about the legalities, that's his job, but this is my chief of staff hat on. I can tell you what we are doing. So there's a Zoom call amongst a bunch of the local town leadership. I believe that's taking place on the 3rd for the leadership to discuss. And we are actively working on an ordinance to come in front of you. We're looking at New Haven's, we're looking at Bridgeport's to get some guidance, but that's in the works.
That's what I like to hear. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. So, I mean, I guess, Mike, from that,
Yeah.
what Mr. McCarthy said, I mean,
What he said.
yeah, perfect, works for me. I have no further comments, Chairman, thank you.
Motion adjourned.
Motion.
Thank you all. Thank you all.